Investigating a pair of deadly shootings about a block apart on Chicago's South Side. Police say one man was killed and another man wounded after they were shot while sitting in a parked vehicle last night near 71st and Perry. Several hours later, two men were shot while sitting in a parked vehicle at 70th and Perry. One of the victims died while the other is in stable condition. 5 are hospitalized following a crash involving a stolen vehicle on the southwest side. A Ford Explorer slammed into a parked vehicle early this morning at 63rd and Washtenaw before barreling into a tree. Chicago police tell us this morning the driver took off following that collision and remains on the loose. The trial of 2 men charged with murdering 9-year-old Tyshawn Lee in Chicago will continue. Lawyers for Dwight Doty and Corey Morgan were unsuccessfully sought a mistrial yesterday. The defense claiming police waited too long to hand over evidence to prosecutors that officers had stopped 2 men on the street for questioning in 2017, just moments after recovering 5 guns, including a pistol later linked to Tyshawn Lee's killing. A former suburban high school teacher is charged with sexually abusing a 14-year-old boy last year. Dana Chidester appeared in a Chicago federal courtroom yesterday. She's accused of having sex with the teen at her home, her car, and in suburban hotels between September and December of 2018. Chidester previously worked as a teacher at Reed Custer High School in Braidwood. She was free on $1 million bond on charges filed in Will County in January, but those charges have now been dropped. Family and friends gathered last night in the south suburbs to celebrate the life of Avia Blackwell. The 12-year-old was killed by a stray bullet in Harvey, shot Monday night inside her home. She died the following day on her 12th birthday. The search for her killer continues. Authorities this morning are investigating a series of deadly overdoses this week in Joliet that could be linked to cocaine laced with fentanyl. Police say 6 overdoses have been reported in the southwest suburbs since Sunday, 3 of them deadly. A Des Plaines man is facing possible prison time after being found guilty of a hate crime for harassing women who were wearing a Puerto Rican flag, a woman who was wearing a Puerto Rican flag shirt last year. Timothy Tribus was taken into custody yesterday after being convicted by a Cook County jury. 50,000 apples were recently stolen from an apple orchard in northwest Indiana. The owner of Williams Orchard in LaPorte County discovered an entire section of his trees that were cleaned out. Apples worth about $30,000. Owners believe the thieves put down tarps and shook the trees, then hauled the apples away. Congressmen and senators from Illinois urging a review of health policies after a mumps outbreak at a northern Illinois county jail that houses immigrant detainees. Health officials confirmed 6 mumps cases earlier this month at the McHenry County Jail. 5:05 on AM 560, The Answer. An Army vet who grew up in Chicago but was deported to Mexico last year is waiting to find out if he will become a U.S. citizen. Miguel Perez Jr. reapplied for citizenship during a hearing yesterday in Chicago.
Well, I'm still hopeful. I think everything went very well, very positive. It seems like it's going to be a positive outcome.
He was deported last year after his citizenship application was denied because of a major 2010 drug conviction that sent him to prison for 7.5 years. The Bears are mourning the passing of former Pro Bowl defensive tackle Wally Chambers. Chambers died Sunday at the age of 68. Cubs president Theo Epstein denying speculation, throwing cold water on reports that he could return to the Red Sox, where he served as GM from 2003 to 2011. Cubs fell to the Pirates 4-2, extending their season-high losing streak to 8 games. And with that loss, the Northsiders were bounced from the playoff chase after a Brewers win over the Reds. White Sox beat the Indians 8-3 at Guaranteed Rate Field, and the Blackhawks fell to the Capitals 6-0 in their final home preseason game. The news, a service of Indeed.com, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring where business owners post job openings with screener questions, then sort, review, and communicate with candidates from an online dashboard. Learn more at Indeed.com/hire. 5:07 A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager believes the truth may be the answer.
Justin Trudeau has these pictures come out. If he had courage, he would say, I am sorry I did it, but it was not something I was aware of as wrong at the time, nor was it meant with malice. What if he did say that? What would happen? What a refreshing thing, truth from a leftist.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, this is Ben Shapiro. I'm going to do something I thought I'd never do. I'm going to endorse Michael Knowles. Not as a person, his show. Is Michael Knowles execrable? Of course. But he is also sharp, original, and sure, I guess I'll say it, he's funny.
More bizarre details emerge about Jeffrey Epstein's obvious murder at the hands of Hillary Clinton. Suicide!
And he's doing his part to keep our Daily Wire tumblers filled to the brim with sweet, sweet leftist tears.
We win, you lose, Carlos Maza.
His book, Reasons to Vote for Democrats, which is completely blank, hit the #1 spot on Amazon and was endorsed by President Trump, the President of the United States.
The culture is so sick that you're actually not doing any of the things that politics is supposed to permit.
Text Ben to 64600 and I'll send you a link to Michael's show to listen on your phone for free. Okay, look, the fact that Michael Knowles has a really great podcast, that doesn't actually care about my feelings. I do want you to listen to Michael Knowles. Yes, I know. I can't believe I'm saying that. It happens to be true. That's text Ben to 64600. Go listen and subscribe.
Texting and data rates may apply.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
Do you have a family? Would you like to help make sure they'll be taken care of if anything were to happen to you? If you answered yes, you probably need life insurance. Now, do you think life insurance is expensive? If you answered yes to that too, you definitely need to give AIG Direct a call. We could find you a $250,000 policy for just $14 a month, which means you could save hundreds of dollars a year. Call us now for a free, no-obligation quote. 1-800-400-5008. Since 1995, we've helped millions of people find out if they could save up to 70% on their term life insurance. See how affordably we can help you protect your family. Call AIG Direct now for your free quote. 1-800-400-5008. You could save up to 70%. That's 1-800-400-5008. 1-800-400-5008.
No one wants to wake up to find they're the victim of identity theft or malware is compromising their smartphone. LifeLock with Norton now includes protection for your identity and devices. Limited time offer. Get 30% off your first year. Ends October 6th. Join at lifelock.com. Use promo code RISK.
5:09 AM 560 Traffic Center time, and good morning to Jim Talamonte.
CTA Blue Line trains are running with some residual delays after police investigation at Rosemont. Trains are rolling now. The northbound Tri-State has delays from the Grand Avenue curve to Irving Park due to construction of the two left lanes this morning. The outbound Kennedy site, Lawrence to Nagel, with work in the two left lanes. Just a 2 or 3 minute delay at the moment. Inbound, the reversible should be opening shortly. The Eisenhower outbound, there's a closure of Ida Wells, the Ike Wells to the Burn Circle. This should reopen soon. Same goes ramp, northbound I-57 to eastbound I-80, and the ramp from northbound 53 to eastbound Lake Cook. It's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer starts next in our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center. Our morning weather with meteorologist Steve Williams.
Sunny for today. It'll be breezy, rather pleasant. A high today at 71. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 58. Clouds tomorrow, breezy. Can't rule out some showers and a thunderstorm, the high at 72. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
61 at O'Hare. Next news, 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
Remember when you could pick up the phone and talk to a friendly voice for technical difficulties?
Yeah, now it's a help desk on the other side of the planet that knows nothing about my business and usually isn't much help at all.
I got stuck in a help chat room the other day, and it was endless back and forth. I don't think they ever really understood or cared about my issue.
It's tough to get great technical help these days.
To find people that really care and invest in your success. That's what Turnkey IT does. And you can rely on them to take care of everything IT, as if they were right by your side, but without the expense of an in-house IT department. Get to know the local team members at Turnkey IT that continue to serve businesses just like yours, from 1 to 200 employees. A friendly face with a personal touch that's close by and believes your word really means something. For only $7.95 per month, you can have local IT help and forget about dealing with computer and network problems forever.
Leave the technical stuff to the pros so you can focus on the important things. Visit turnkey.pro today. Turnkey.pro.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. It was a landmark day for the English language. Last week, Merriam-Webster added the singular genderless word they to their online dictionary, a change that will be reflected in subsequent editions of the hard copies of their dictionary as well. Merriam-Webster is the oldest publisher of dictionaries in the United States. It's had wide influence. This is more than a simply symbolic act, and Merriam-Webster understands that. But here's the question. How long will this current definition or this newly added definition last? How long will it be before he and she or his and hers are respelled or simply disappear? I'm going to make a prediction right now. The gender and sexual revolutionaries will not be satisfied with the singular they. And that's why this is so important. If you can control the language, if you can change the language, you will control and you will change the direction of the culture. I'm Albert Mohler.
Sponsored by ADF, Alliance Defending Freedom.
Message and data rates may apply. Individual results may vary. Exclusions apply.
But hey, I'm buying a huge flat screen TV so I can finally see it without my glasses.
Why not just get LASIK at the LASIK Vision Institute? That's what I'm doing.
My glasses and contacts are a pain. I'd love to finally get rid of these, but who can afford LASIK?
You can. Because the LASIK Vision Institute is offering dramatically low prices and an absolutely free consultation. Just text TRY to 350-350. The LASIK Vision Institute has already performed over 1 million procedures. They use the latest FDA-approved LASIK technology that helps the majority of patients achieve 20/20 vision for a fraction of a C for free if LASIK is right for you. That's TRY to 350-350.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Mortgage Update with Dan Frio. Every Saturday morning at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. Mafia shakedown? Is that what the transcript from President Trump's phone call with Ukrainian President Zelensky indicates? Take your calls. Let's start there.
Do you want to read through it? Do you want to be President Trump and have me be Zelensky, or do you want to mix it up?
Well, you suggested that they do a reenactment, and they virtually did in their media availability yesterday at UN. But the important takeaways from Zelensky were not the pleasantries they exchanged in person on TV, just as they had done on the phone. Zelensky making the point, it's better to be on TV.
It's a great pleasure to me to be here. And it's better to be on TV than by phone. Yeah. I think.
He is a comedian, okay, former comedian.
No question about it.
I was kidding about that. I said, no, that was his job.
And there was much discussion about Ukraine and the United States and the relationship and the support and the aid. But ultimately, when it came time for the press to query President Zelensky, he was asked whether he felt pressured.
I think you read everything. So I think you read text. I'm sorry, but I don't want to be involved to democratic, open elections of USA. No, you heard that we had, I think, good phone call. It was normal. We spoke about many things, and I think, and you read it, that nobody pushed me. Yes.
In other words, no pressure.
In other words, no pressure. Here's the exchange that, of course, the Democrats are seizing on. This from the transcript of, and it's not verbatim again, but the transcript from the conversation that was released. Trump telling Zelensky, I'd like you to do us a favor.
Uh-oh.
I'd like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it. I would like you to find out what happened with the whole situation with Ukraine. They say CrowdStrike. I guess you have one of your wealthy people. The server, they say Ukraine has it. Hillary server. There are a lot of things that went on, the whole situation. I think you're surrounding yourself with some of the same people. I would like to have the Attorney General call you or your people, and I would like you to get to the bottom of it, as you saw yesterday, because remember, this conversation took place the day after Mueller testified. As you saw yesterday, that whole nonsense ended with a very poor performance by a man named Robert Mueller, an incompetent performance. But they say a lot of it started with Ukraine. Whatever you can do, it's very important that you do it if that's possible. And, of course, Zelensky was accommodating, saying, oh, yes, it's very important for me and everything that you just mentioned earlier. For me as a president, it's very important, and we are open for any future cooperation. And he just goes on in that vein. That was one aspect. And the other aspect, of course, gets into Joe Biden. So after Zelensky is accommodating to the president's, I would like you to do a favor request, Trump comes back and says, good, in response to Zelensky's response. I heard you had a prosecutor who was very good, and he was shut down, and that's really unfair. A lot of people are talking about that, the way they shut your very good prosecutor down. You had some very bad people involved. Mr. Giuliani is a highly respected man. He was the mayor of New York City, a great mayor, and I would like him to call you. I will ask him to call you along with the Attorney General. Rudy very much knows what's happening, and he is a very capable guy. If you could speak to him, that would be great. The former ambassador for the United States, the woman, was bad news, and the people she was dealing with in the Ukraine were bad news. So I just want to let you know that. The other thing, there's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution. A lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you can look into that, it sounds horrible to me. And then again, Zelensky is accommodating to what the president had to say on the topic.
And this is cause for impeachment?
That's what I'm led to believe.
I mean, even
that's
Zelensky.
what I understand.
Yeah, but Zelensky came out yesterday and said he wasn't pressured at all. When I read this 5 pages transcript of the phone conversation, I didn't feel that there was a threat made. I didn't feel like anyone's arm was being twisted. There was no talk of withholding fund. I mean, he was talking about, the military aid, and with that aid you give us, we're going to buy some weapons from the United States. It was very cordial. He was actually a lot of flattery toward President Trump. They seem to mutually respect each other, but I did not walk away with that at all.
And Trump was asked, per what you just heard from that transcript, which many of you I'm sure have read, Trump was asked in his confab with Zelensky by the press, why dispatch Rudy G? Why Rudy G?
Where did this Russian witch hunt that you people really helped perpetrate, where did it start? How come it started? It was all nonsense. It was a hoax. It was a total hoax. It was a media hoax and a Democrat hoax. Where did it start? And Rudy's got every right to go and find out where that started. And other people are looking at that too. Where did it start? The enablers. Where did it all come from? It was out of thin air. And I think he's got a very strong right to do it. He's a good lawyer. He knows exactly what he's doing. And it's very important.
312-642-5600 is our Turnkey.pro answer line 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Wall Street Journal editorial board opining on the conversation now that we have the transcript. And basically, the pertinent parts that I read, they say in reaction, that's it? No quid pro quo. The references to the Bidens are in the context of fighting corruption, not as a prerequisite of U.S. aid. Mr. Trump was unwise to mention Mr. Biden. But the tenor of the conversation is congenial. It's amusing to hear the same critics who call Mr. Trump an oafish thug on a daily basis now say this was all a subtle masterpiece of extortion. When is Mr. Trump ever subtle? It's a good way to approach it. Democrats also making much of Trump's references to AG Barr, also imprudent in the Biden context, writes the Journal. But the Justice Department says nothing came of it. that Mr. Trump never asked Mr. Barr to make the call, that Mr. Barr has never communicated with Ukraine or with Mr. Giuliani about Ukraine. They go on. Again, it's not a clean bill of health here, but the standard we're discussing is the removal of office. Mr. Trump is certainly reckless to use the former New York mayor as an anti-corruption envoy or for anything else. Rudy is an unguided missile on TV and can't be much better in private. I agree with that. Yeah. Justice and State Department said plenty of people can work with Ukraine on corruption. But keep in mind that all of this came to public attention because of a leak about a whistleblower complaint from the Intel bureaucracy. The accusation is that Mr. Trump somehow attempted to cover this up, but it looks on the evidence released Wednesday that the administration acted by the book.
Well, that whistleblower is going to be testifying as early as today with his attorney behind closed door with the Senate Intel Committee. And I don't know if they're going to be releasing that today, but of course CNN was saying that this morning. President Trump, though, before he sat down with Zelensky, spoke with reporters and talked about if anybody should be impeached, it's the senators who made contact with Zelensky.
If you take a look at the Democrats, they went down to see the president of Ukraine, and they asked him for all sorts of things, and don't go with the Republicans and stay with us, and like it's a political war. They shouldn't have done that. That should be an impeachable event, I guess, based on what you're saying. The Democrats just came out. They went down there, a group of people, some of whom I was dealing with on the gun issue, and they went down, put tremendous pressure on Ukraine. The president himself just came out with a statement saying there was absolutely no...
So you get the idea. I mean, and one of those is Senator Murray.
I'm glad the president released this transcript, but it is absolutely devastating. If the president gets away with this, I'm not sure what checks and balances remain.
Patty Murray's voice got a lot deeper. That was Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut. We talked about this yesterday. He was there last month basically saying, don't acquiesce to Giuliani's requests. Otherwise, he made the implication Ukraine would no longer enjoy bipartisan support for aid from the United States. And then a year ago, back in May, you had three senators, Durbin, Leahy, and Menendez, send a letter to the then prosecutor general in Ukraine demanding they be more compliant with the Mueller probe and the Mueller's look at Ukraine as part of the Russian collusion investigation. And they had three questions they wanted the prosecutor general to answer in writing. So
who's putting pressure on who?
Well, the whole idea that putting pressure is somehow outside the bounds of politics. The great Chicago writer Finley Peter Dunn, through his character Mr. O'Toole, politics ain't beanbag. Pressure on somebody that you're negotiating with, interfacing with. You put pressure on people to advance your interests. I know we're all supposed to live in this woozy dreamland where all of our politicians are statesmen who act strictly from a place of altruism. That's never been the case, and it never will be the case. You know why? Because these are human beings, and human beings with power, and too much power to boot. So all of this hand-wringing, the suggestion that if we provide this, we demand specific performance along these lines. If we provide this, we want consideration for that. This is new to politics, we're to believe. Tony in Downers Grove, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, morning, Dan. Morning, Amy. Hey, this is useless. I mean, this is a parallel universe that people are living in. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious. I mean, how someone like AOC or Chris Murphy or any of these people get on TV and say what they're saying, it's just a reading from a different script, and it just doesn't matter. And for me, that's why I hope Trump keeps on twittering, because it just doesn't matter. We are in two separate worlds, and it's just not going to change.
Thanks, Tony. Grant in Rockford.
Good morning. There is no way that call constitutes impeachment. If you want to talk about a mafia-style shakedown, you guys should really play the clip of Joe Biden telling the Ukrainians, bragging how they have 6 hours to remove the prosecutor who's looking into his son, or the $1 billion isn't coming their way. Well, son of a bee, it got done. I mean, look, I'm speechless. It's just disgusting, and it's going to tear the country apart. Have a good one.
Thanks for the call, Grant. Kimberly Strassel tweeting her own analysis, Kimberly Strassel of the Journal, who's been one of the best reporters, along with John Solomon, Andy McCarthy, from the Mueller investigation to present. To call the transcript itself, Trump's actual favor is that Ukraine look backward to what happened in the 2016 election. That's a legitimate ask, since election meddling looks to have come from both Russia and Ukraine. By the way, it's also a an area of inquiry for U.S. Attorney Durham, who's doing the look back at 2016 here domestically on behalf of the Justice Department. That's worth noting. Strassel continues, indeed, making the point about Durham. It's actually Zelensky who brings up Rudy Giuliani, saying they can't wait to meet him. And it's Zelensky who references that investigation as he goes on to promise that all investigations will be done openly and candidly. Trump says good and expresses worries that a good prosecutor was shut down, mentions Biden's son, and Biden bragged he stopped the prosecution. Ends the bit with, it sounds horrible to me. Trump's several references to Giuliani are mostly to say what a great guy he is. He says he will have Giuliani and AG Barr. He has Zelensky to call, and he has Zelensky to speak and work with them both. And never mind, because DOJ, again, in its statement, said the president has not spoken to AG about Biden, not asked the AG to contact Ukraine, and Barr has not communicated with Ukraine on this or any other subject. Meanwhile, the IG back in August referred this to DOJ as a potential violation of campaign finance law based on the whistleblower complaint. The criminal division at Department of Justice evaluated and determined no violation. All relevant components of the department agreed with this legal conclusion. That's a quote from DOJ. So, what do you have here again? What is it that you have? Greg and Schaumburg.
The answer to the question is you've got rules for radicals and power that is persuasive reigns. So my question to both of you is this. What's going to happen, Dan and Amy, on two levels? First of all, is he going to get impeached? And secondly, will he be removed? And as you answer the question, I'd like you to take in advisement the vote that happened yesterday in the Senate about the emergency powers that the Republicans caved on.
All right, we'll pick that up after we check the headlines with Mike Scott. Thanks for the call, Greg.
61 degrees, 529 on AM 560. The Answer. Whistleblower complaint about President Trump's conversation with the new president of Ukraine could be made public today. The complaint reportedly has been declassified and seen by a few members of Congress last night. Former Vice President Joe Biden says a newly released summary of a call between the president and the Ukrainian president, in his mind, appears to show the president committing an impeachable offense.
It's such a blatant abuse of power that I don't think it can stand.
President Trump said he didn't do anything inappropriate by asking Ukraine's president to investigate the former VP and his son Hunter.
You take a look at that call, it was perfect. I didn't do it. There was no quid pro quo. But there was with Biden, and there was with these senators.
Congressman Adam Schiff said that transcript of the call is far more damning, his word, than expected.
It is shocking at another level that the White House would release these notes and felt that somehow this would help the president's case or cause.
Colorado Congressman Doug Lamborn late last night now wants to launch an investigation into Vice President Biden and his son.
Just last year, Joe Biden bragged to the Council on Foreign Relations that he threatened the Ukrainian government while vice president with the loss of $1 billion unless they fired the prosecutor general leading the ethics probe into Hunter Biden.
Documents were made available again to members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committee late last night. A 10th person has died in the U.S. from an illness related to vaping. The latest death happening in Georgia. A third parent in the college admissions scandal will be sentenced today. L.A. business development pro Stephen Semprevivo paid about $400,000 to get his son into Georgetown as a phony tennis recruit. The Senate voting again to stop President Trump from using money for military construction projects to build a border wall. 11 Republicans voted with Democrats yesterday to override the president. A school in southern Indiana says as of this morning, fifth graders cannot date. Riverside Elementary in the town of Jeffersonville says kids in the 5th grade are dating and breaking up too much at that school, leading to too many broken hearts. Here in Chicago, 5 are hospitalized after a crash involving a stolen vehicle on Chicago's southwest side. It happened near 63rd and Washtenaw. Authorities are investigating a series of overdoses this week in Joliet that could be linked to cocaine laced with fentanyl. The Peterson Gymnastics Center on Chicago's northwest side closed until further notice. The Park District shut down that facility following recent cases of staph infections in the building. 2 major cultural touchstones turned 50 years old today. It's the anniversary of the Beatles' classic album Abbey Road. And this television show. The Brady Bunch premiered on television 50 years ago this evening. Chicago sports, Cubs fell to the Pirates 4-2 in Pittsburgh. Their season-high losing skid now 8 games, and the Northsiders bounced out of the playoff chase. Sox beat the Indians 8-3 at Guaranteed Rate Field. 5:33 is our time. We'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Sean Hannity's tired of the double standard.
They only care about Russian interference if it can be tied to Donald Trump. If they cared about obstruction, they'd be all over the bleach bit, the hammers, and the lesions. If they cared about the rule of law, they would have been all over the Espionage Act and top secret classified information on Hillary's server.
The Sean Hannity Show. Afternoons at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, it's Amy Jacobson. You know, our listeners helped build MyPillow into the amazing company that it is today. And now MyPillow is giving back to our listeners. You can get deep discounts on all MyPillow products by going to MyPillow.com and clicking on the Radio Listener Specials box. I love these pillows, and you know you will too. So receive huge discounts on MyPillows, mattress toppers, my favorite, the Giza sheets, and more. For example, the body pillow that provides the perfect comfort and support for your entire body is regularly $89.99, but with the promo code Amy, it's only $29.99. All products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 10-year warranty. Go to MyPillow.com and click on the Radio Listener Specials box and get deep discounts on all products, including MyPillows for only $29.99. You'll get 30% off mattress toppers and deep discounts on Giza cotton sheets. That's MyPillow.com. Click the Radio Specials box and enter promo code Amy or call 800-489-0201. That's MyPillow.com. Promo code Amy.
The Can-Am Off-Road Yellow Tag Sales Event is going on now. Hit the trails in the ultimate off-road vehicle. Can-Am is built for ripping through trails, crawling through mud, cruising over dunes, getting the job done, and saving you money. Stop by your local dealer during the Yellow Tag Sales Event and find a great deal or rebate on select Can-Am off-road vehicles today.
Just a few years ago, Mozambique's Niassa National Reserve in southern Africa was a danger zone for elephants. Organized gangs of poachers took them down by the thousands for their ivory tusks. Conservationists and governments got together to eliminate poaching. Today, Niassa hasn't lost a single elephant in more than a year. With your support, we can keep places like Niassa safe. Find out more at 96elephants.org.
A lost dog, not a lost cause. Read Catching Murphy, the latest book from the Associated Press, available now exclusively at Amazon.com.
5:35 on AM 560. A check on the roads this morning with Jim Talamonte.
CTA Blue Line trains are running again with some residual delays. There was earlier an unauthorized person on the tracks at Grand. Before that, police investigation at Rosemont. Things are back on schedule for now. Northbound tri-state traffic bottled up North Avenue to the Bensonville Bridge, but some overnight road work has just cleared. So traffic starting to loosen up just a bit. Inbound Stevenson, traffic is tight around Cicero. Inbound Ryan, it's heavy in pockets, 35th to the Burns Circle, 18 minutes, 95th to downtown. Bishopford, already 26 minutes from 8094 to the merge. Delay on southbound I-65, State Road 2 to 205th Avenue. Some work in the left lane. That's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast from the 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning Weather Center. Sunny, breezy, pleasant, high 71, currently 61 degrees. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by On Target Radio. From firearms and Second Amendment rights to personal freedoms and government intrusions. Listen here Sunday nights at 9.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Judge Napolitano versus Joe DiGenova, round 2. We played yesterday. Napolitano saying before the transcript was released that Trump committed a crime and admitted to committing a crime. Joe DiGenova saying that Judge Napolitano was a fool and that the president neither committed a crime nor admitted to committing a crime. This took place over the span of the Fox News broadcast day, Shepard Smith's program versus Tucker Carlson's program. So after the transcript was released, this was taken up again, first by Shepard Smith and then by the tag teams, Shepard Smith with Judge Napolitano and Tucker Carlson with Joe DiGenova.
Were they wearing capes?
Yeah, it should have been.
Like a WWE SmackDown special.
It was something like that. So listen to this because it frames a little bit of what's going on, including within Republican ranks, which we'll get to in a moment.
Judge Andrew Napolitano, who is a legal analyst at Fox and a very nice guy, I will say, I've always liked him, went on one of our daytime shows and declared that the president's phone call with the head of Ukraine was a crime. Here's what he said.
It is a crime for the president to solicit aid for his campaign from a foreign government.
So that would be it. That to which the president has admitted is in and of itself a crime.
Yes.
So that definitely got our attention. Of course, it's a crime. And so I asked you, because you prosecuted a lot of crimes, and for our viewers who didn't see it, here's what you said.
Well, I think Judge Napolitano is a fool, and I think what he said today is foolish. No, it is not a crime. Let me underscore emphatically that nothing that the president said on that call or what we think he said on that call constitutes a crime. And even if he had said, you're not going to get the money, it would not be a crime.
Well, apparently, our daytime host, who hosted Judge Napolitano, was watching last night and was outraged by what you said and, quite ironically, called you partisan. Here's what he said.
A partisan guest who supports President Trump was asked about Judge Napolitano's legal assessment. And when he was asked, he said, unchallenged, Judge Napolitano is a fool. Attacking our colleague who's here to offer legal assessments on our air in our work home is repugnant.
Oh, no.
Repugnant. Not clear if that was you or me, but someone's repugnant. And here's what, finally, last soundbite, here's how Judge Napolitano responded.
A lot of legal authority, and I join it on the other side. And the other side basically says anything that helps the campaign, whether it's cash or emails or smearing your opponent, is a thing of value.
And therefore, requesting it is a crime.
Yes.
Now, unlike maybe some dayside hosts, I'm not very partisan, and it was a sincere question. Is it a crime or not? So given everything that's happened in the last 24 hours, I just want to throw it to you again. Was it a crime or not?
Absolutely not. Now, let me sort of educate Judge Napolitano. The President of the United States is the executive branch under Article 2. He is the chief law enforcement officer of the United States. He can ask anyone, a citizen, a foreign leader, a question. He can make a suggestion about an investigation because he runs them. And by the way, in the latest set to with the whistleblower, the Office of Legal Counsel has said that requesting information from a foreign government is not a thing of value. It is not a foreign contribution. I must say this. I've been a U.S. attorney, an independent counsel, an investigative counsel on Capitol Hill in the House and the Senate. Judge Napolitano has never been a U.S. attorney. He's never been a federal prosecutor. He has never conducted a federal grand jury. I have done all of those things.
Yeah. In addition to that, let me just add, and I haven't been a judge nor any of the things that D. Genova has been either. However, I do know something about campaign finance law just from my involvement in politics at both the state and federal level. To suggest what Napolitano is suggesting, that conversation represented an in-kind contribution or the solicitation of an in-kind contribution to the president's reelection campaign is so wildly absurd. I'm surprised that Fox News doesn't reconsider his contractual relationship with them. By Judge Napolitano's definition, anything the president does, any advantage he secures for the country would redound to his political benefit and thus be a thing of value. I got Canada to lower product was an in-kind contribution to Trump's reelection campaign. Anything from which he can extract political value is a campaign, a foreign entity, would be a campaign finance violation. It is absurd on its face, and I'm embarrassed that Judge Napolitano would make such an argument. That's why I'm embarrassed for him. That's why the Department of Justice so easily swatted this away, this suggestion that a campaign finance law may be at bar here. It is not at bar. So now if we can get past some of the nonsense you're hearing from a lot of different quarters, that's why I wanted you to hear Napolitano, because it's not just the left. And I otherwise, like Judge Napolitano. But look, the substance of the matter is the substance of the matter, and he couldn't be more wrong if his head was screwed on backwards. It's just a ridiculous assertion. And then to have it compounded with Shep Smith's daytime soap opera melodrama, I mean, it just makes
Not
it painful.
in our house. This is so
On my work
repugnant.
home. I mean, cry me a river, Shep. Get a grip on yourself. It's just absurd.
He needs a day spa.
All right, so now let's get back to the real claim,
yes.
the impeachable, whether this is impeachable conduct or not, because we're talking about high crimes and misdemeanors, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an actual crime. Ocasio-Cortez, one of the great spokesmen, listen to what she says about the effectively what she's suggesting is why this is impeachable, if you can.
Against a political opponent. But what also makes this urgent is that this is about something that is going to happen, the 2020 election. We have the opportunity to act now to prevent a profoundly destabilizing action and intervention in our democracy before it happens. And I think that is a profoundly urgent action that we need to take right now. And everything else is just as serious. All of these transgressions against our democracy are extremely serious, but we are investigating things that have unfortunately already happened. When it comes to Ukraine, we are talking about a potential meddling in the 2020 election that has still yet to happen.
So did you catch what she, her profundity on not Ukraine, but what she said, why this is impeachable? Not just like the future of our republic is at stake, but it's impeachable because she's saying President Trump weaponized the U.S. government for political purposes. Does that ring any bells for you? Somebody's weaponizing the federal government to target a political opponent. I'm trying to think if there are any historical parallels. Maybe some of our callers can help us. Anything in the recent past where that description would be applicable? I'm trying. Maybe like an administration that unmasked a general and an incoming senior foreign policy official for President of the United States, which everyone admits was a crime, and yet there's been no reckoning for that. Would that be like an example, a historical example of weaponizing the state against political opponents?
Dan, I think you're talking about the Obama administration.
I think a lot of people opined at the time during the beginning and the middle and the end of the Mueller collusion investigation that the precedent that was set with the 2016 election and the conduct of the most powerful agencies in the federal government the precedent that was set when the IRS was weaponized to go after political opponents during the Obama administration would come back to haunt. It's a terrible precedent, and it will become a haunting precedent. And I'm not suggesting that I agree with Ocasio-Cortez. I'm just suggesting that by her set standard, how should we understand what's transpired over the last, say, go back to the IRS targeting scandal to present? Jim and Joliet, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. How are you? I originally was going to talk about, the fact that you can't get rid of these intel people because they're quote unquote civil servants. They're protected by it, but you can reassign them out of Washington. So I'm thinking McMurdo Base in Antarctica would be a good place. But the left keeps talking about the destruction of this republic or our republic, which is exactly what they are doing. And there comes a point where we have to understand that sometimes just trying to use logic and trying to use truth, it just isn't going to be enough, because the left, especially these Marxists, they're going by the Marxist playbook, which means you get control of the street and you control the narrative because you intimidate your enemy, which is us, the conservatives, the average American. And I think the only thing that's going to make any kind of an impression on them is if a couple of million people, average Americans, suddenly show up in Washington, D.C., and let Congress know exactly what we think of this Marxist move against our government, because that's what this is. It's a takeover, and we have to see it for what it is. We can't play nice anymore. We just can't.
Thanks for the call, Jim. And I take your point, too, about the irony of a bunch of Marxists worried about our representative republic, a form of government they seem to reject. Scott in Aurora.
When it comes to AOC, I think she's delusional always, and I'm not going to take any advice from somebody who doesn't know what a sink garbage disposal is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for the call, Scott. I think that's a fair standard to set.
But she figured it out. She grew as a homeowner.
If your greatest fears in life are garbage disposals and colonial cauliflower, then I'm not sure we should be listening to you opine about the future of our republic. I think that's fair. Jordan in Forest Park.
You know, if the Bidens had completely clean hands in this whole Ukrainian thing, I would look at this phone call actually something that could help the Bidens. And that's because, as you notice in the polls, Warren has eclipsed Biden out in California. So if he is completely innocent, he should welcome an investigation, clear it all up, and his poll numbers should go back up. This is a great opportunity for him. But this firm that his son, board member, was also on the British government list as potential money launderers. And so there's a lot there at that company if they ever investigate that company.
Well, according to CNN, I mean, Biden has been cleared of any wrongdoing. There is no investigation.
Yeah,
like
I know.
Can somebody open up an investigation against the Bidens? Yeah.
Well, sure.
Even Lindsey Graham thinks they should.
But Vice President Biden is a good man. I've enjoyed a good relationship with him. But I can assure you that if any Republican family member was engaged in conduct like this, they would raise questions. You can ask for the prosecutor to be fired if you think he's corrupt and it's in the national interest of the United States. A lot of people felt the guy was corrupt. But the one thing that I think has to be dealt with here is that the son of the vice president was receiving a lot of money from the Ukraine, and some of the sources of the funds were under investigation by the prosecutor. I don't know what the right answer is. I just hope somebody will look at it, and I don't mind the president bring up the idea maybe the guy was fired because of a conflict of interest.
Well, it's an inherent conflict of interest, which I've been saying all week, and Lindsey Graham's essentially intimating it. Lindsey Graham's an attorney. He's a JAG Corps officer before he went to the Senate. He gets this. Inherently it is. So could he be investigated? What, Joe Biden's off limits? How's that? Joe Biden's off limits because he's running for president? So I guess if you want to engage in conflicts of interest and perhaps commit crimes, you do it overseas, and then you run for president because you can't be investigated if you're if your party doesn't hold the White House. That's a way to have immunity for all activities. Nobody's accusing Joe Biden of committing a crime, but
And there's no way in the world President Obama didn't know about this.
His conflict of interest is per se. Per se. My son is part of is being remunerated by a company that is being investigated. Now I'm going to intervene in my capacity as the second most powerful person in the world, as a public office holder in the United States, to remove that prosecutor, whatever the reason, legitimate or illegitimate. Say it was legitimate. I'm going to intervene knowing that my son stands to benefit? No, you don't do it. You recuse yourself. You say, I can't do it. I can't do it because I have this conflict of interest. It's not that complicated. Mark on the South Side.
Dan, I'd like your opinion. Why would the Democrats go down this path when they know they're guilty of what they're accusing Trump of? You have the Solomon investigation out there. You have the three senators, Durbin being one of them, who sent the letter to Ukraine. And they know that Trump's not your typical Republican who's going to go away and hide when the heat's on. He relishes the battle that's ahead of them with this. So why would they do this when they know they're guilty of what they're accusing him of?
Well, there's two reasons, I think, Mark. Thanks for the call. One is that's what the left does. They project onto their political opponents who they are and what they've done. This is a way to cover their tracks, and they get great assistance from the D.C. press corps to do so, which is a powerful ally. That's number one. Number two, you're right that Trump is not that kind of Republican. What about the other Republicans on the Hill that matter? What about them? You think they can be intimidated? You think they can be persuaded? You think that there aren't a lot of Republican senators who don't like Trump, are susceptible to political and media pressure? Their audience isn't Trump. They know what they have in Trump. Their audience is Republicans on the Hill, particularly in the Senate, because I think they know what they have in some of those Republicans, too. There's the area of concern. That's the soft underbelly. It's not Trump. Dan in Libertyville.
Thanks for taking my call. Good to hear you. I like what you're saying. And here's my view on this. One, we're being scammed. We're being told it's a whistleblower. No. The person got it secondhand from somebody who gave it to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a violation of the law. Classified material being passed on. Nobody's talking about that. This was a spy in the Trump administration who gave that information to someone else to be publicized, just like Comey took information and gave it to that professor so he would end up with it being publicized. That's not being talked about. Biden did not intervene merely. He obstructed justice. He knew what the hell he was doing. And here's the bigger thing. When you listen to that tape of Biden talking, he says that the president told him, you can't stop this payment. You don't have that authority. And Biden said, you want to call the president? Call him. I want that phone call. I want that recording of Obama saying to them, you're not going to get the $6 billion unless you fire the prosecutor investigating Biden's son. That would be juicy.
Son's company.
Thanks for the call, Dan. To the point of the whistleblower, the Wall Street Journal makes this point. It's an important one. How this all came to be a national political crisis. First, a whistleblower who's still unidentified brings a complaint based on what he heard about a president's phone call. By the way, the OLC memo, Office of Legal Counsel, says in passing that the IG's review acknowledges, quote, some indicia of an arguable political bias on the part of the complainant in favor of a rival political candidate, unquote.
Oh.
That's an important...
That's big.
Then the IG makes a flawed legal judgment that Congress must see the complaint. When his argument is rebutted, word leaks to the press, Congress cries cover up, and suddenly we're putting the country through another impeachment upheaval. Is anyone else troubled that this is all it takes to impeach a president? If a bureaucrat who dislikes a president can trigger a complaint based on hearsay that forces the disclosure of presidential diplomacy, the conduct of foreign policy will be severely hampered. Democrat presidents won't be spared once Republicans figure out how this works. Perhaps.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
ADP isn't just in the payroll business. We're in the people business, helping companies find them, train them, and empower them by clearing the way for them to do their best work. Because when your people thrive, your business thrives with them. HR, talent, time, benefits, and payroll. Informed by data and designed for people, so you and your company can achieve what you're working for. Learn more at design.adp.com.
Liberty Mutual Insurance presents. When generic insurance takes hold, one handsome man and one flightless bird are teaming up to save the world. Money. Their message? Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need. Their mission? Savings. Their relationship? Best friends. Say hello to Liberty Mutual's new spokes team. And Doug.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Equal housing insurer. State laws apply.
Hey everyone, Ken here. For 2 years now, you've heard Carrie and I use metaphors to test to see if you think your home or your business could use a revenue shot in the backside. Today, because of our new website, I can be a little bit more direct. Income Store has 2 doors. If you have more time than money, you're going to live under door number 1. You're going to see over 400 digital assets, 5 to 20 minutes apiece, that'll teach you how to manage numbers and lead people, or show you 6 growth tips you've never heard of. All of this so you can start growing your home or your business revenue literally immediately. If you have more money than time, door number 2 is going to be for you. You can view some of our managed services, look for more done-for-you packages. 34% of Americans in 2018 visited one of our managed services. Forbes 3 years in a row quoted, Income Store is an expert at generating home or business revenue. If you'd love to explore how to check out adding revenue to your home or business, just go to incomestore.com. That's incomestore.com.
WIND, Chicago.
A new release, hot off the presses in Congress. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The whistleblower complaint now declassified.
No push, no pressure, no nothing. It's all a hoax. It's all a big hoax.
The president also called it a joke that Democrats want to impeach over this controversy. The rough transcript of his July Ukraine call did show the president asked for an investigation into Joe Biden and his son, but there was no mention of military aid being withheld. Biden, now a presidential candidate, told ABC's Jimmy Kimmel last night.
It's such a blatant abuse of power that I don't think it can stand.
The acting director of National Intelligence, Joseph McGuire, will testify at the House publicly in about 2 hours. Then he'll meet with senators in private to discuss the phone call and the whistleblower complaint. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, lawmakers went into a secure facility at the Capitol to get a look at the whistleblower complaint and emerged with different reactions. House Intelligence Committee Democrat Chair Adam Schiff told reporters he found the allegations disturbing.
I also found them very credible. I can understand why the Inspector General found them credible.
Republican Chris Stewart, who sits on the House Intelligence Committee, says the Ukraine controversy is going nowhere.
All just this one thing, this one phone call that we've been talking about.
GOP Senator Ben Sasse cautioned Republicans against circling the wagon, saying there's obviously some very troubling things here. Dave.
Rachel, there's some hope outside GM plants and warehouses where auto workers keep picketing.
Day 11, week 2 of this strike, and now both sides seem to be coming close to a tentative agreement. Talks have really intensified over the last 24 to 48 hours.
Fox Business Network's Tracy Carrasco, a former president of France, has died. Jacques Chirac led the country from 1995 to 2007, perhaps most notably to the U.S. He was a vocal critic of the 2003 Iraq invasion. America's listening to Fox News.
Skies are clear, 58 degrees. At 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. 5 are hospitalized following a crash involving a stolen vehicle on Chicago's southwest side. Ford Explorer struck a parked vehicle, then slammed into a tree near 63rd and Washtenaw. The driver remains on the loose. The trial of 2 men charged with the murder of Tyshawn Lee in Chicago will continue. Lawyers for Dwight Doty and Corey Morgan unsuccessfully sought a mistrial yesterday. Family and friends gathered last night in the south suburbs celebrating the life of Kentavia Blackwell. The 12-year-old was killed by a stray bullet in Harvey, shot Monday night inside of her home near 158th and Paulina. She died the following day on her 12th birthday. An Army veteran who grew up in Chicago, deported to Mexico last year, is waiting to find out if he will become a U.S. citizen. Miguel Perez Jr. reapplied for citizenship during a hearing yesterday in Chicago.
Well, I'm still hopeful. I think everything went very well, very positive. It seems like it's going to be a positive outcome.
He was deported last year after his citizenship application was denied because of a major 2010 drug conviction that led to 7.5 years in prison. Prosecutors in Wisconsin this morning are pushing ahead with charges against 4 people who say they went on a spending spree with counterfeit cash. All 4 are from Chicago. Eau Claire police say they spent that counterfeit money in nearly a dozen shops and restaurants. Chicago sports. Cubs fell to the Pirates 4-2 in Pittsburgh and out of the playoff chase after a Brewers win over the Reds. White Sox beat the Indians 8-3 at guaranteed rate. The news service of LifeLock with Norton. No one wants to wake up to find they're the victim of identity theft or malware is compromising their smartphone. LifeLock with Norton now includes protection for your identity and devices. Limited time offer. Get 30% off your first year. Ends October 6th. Join at lifelock.com. Use promo code RISK. 6:04, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The mainstream media wants to divide Americans into neat little groups, and they want you to believe that everyone in each of those groups thinks alike. John Anthony and Charles Love are here to blow up that lie. Join them for Black and Right this Saturday at 1 p.m. when they expose the lies of the media and the hypocrisy of the left and have fun doing it. It's Black and Right this Saturday at 1 p.m. right here on AM 560. The Answer.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money. Easy to learn, easy to use, small business software tailored just for you. With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
When it comes to keeping your small business's valuable information safe, Dell Small Business Technology Advisors can recommend tailored security solutions like servers, storage, networking. Plus, right now, get up to 45% off select business computers with Intel Core processors. Running your own small business is a big challenge, but with the right partner, it's a lot easier. To speak with an advisor today, call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
Hi, I'm Alan Bronson.
And I'm Bill Cook. All of us at Clear Financial Strategies want to thank you for the overwhelmingly positive response to our previous ads, but the 75% discount on our fiduciary review ends soon.
We have good news. You and your employees need not be constrained by one-size-fits-all retirement plans. Working with industry heavyweights like Charles Schwab, the professionals at Clear Financial Strategies will customize a plan that includes the features that best fit your goals, including personal financial planning and all mobile-friendly.
Your plan will be managed in a fiduciary-compliant process that puts the day-to-day burden on the shoulders of the professionals at Clear Financial Strategies. We also offer a low-cost, no-transaction fee HSA plan that can mirror your 401k, permitting investments with the first contribution.
All this, plus financial wellness and personal advice to help assure retirement readiness. Call now, 855-972-9564. That's 855-972-9564, or go to my401krisks.com.
Indeed, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring, where business owners and HR professionals can post job openings with screener questions, then sort, review, and communicate with candidates from an online dashboard. Learn more at Indeed.com/hire.
6:07 AM 560 Traffic Center time. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Eastbound I-80 on the ramp, southbound I-57. There's a crash on that ramp. Seeing roadwork delays on northbound I-65 this morning from State Road 10 to 205th Avenue. The 8 inches fine. Kennedy, 24 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, up on 23. Traffic's heavy going into O'Hare on westbound 190. Inbound Eisenhower delays start at Manheim. 38 minutes, 390 to downtown, outbound 30. Stevenson, 40 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. The Rhine is 25 minutes from 95th to downtown. I-57, 17 minutes. I-80 to the merge. Bishop 426. Delays starting at 115th. Northbound Tri-State is jammed. Reagan all the way to North Avenue after a crash. It's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. In our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center, latest forecast with our meteorologist Steve Williams.
Today, mostly sunny, breezy, and pleasant. The high today at 71. It'll be partly cloudy tonight, low 58. Clouds tomorrow, breezy, occasional rain and a thunderstorm for the afternoon. The high tomorrow at 72. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
57 at O'Hare. Next news, 6:30, and Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Simple question. How would you react if President Trump was removed from office? How would you react? Politico reporting yesterday, according to their tabulation, a majority of members of the House would vote to impeach President Trump. I mean, the House majority is like...
Democratic.
Yeah, well, it's like a grand jury. The grand jury can indict a ham sandwich. A majority of House Democrats can indict a ham sandwich. I mean, can impeach a ham sandwich. I mean, so...
And there's 39, Democrats and some blue dog Democrats that are not on board with impeachment.
They have a majority.
Right, they do. So it's probably more than likely it's going to happen.
They can impeach him for whatever reason they want. It doesn't have to be a good one. So the reason they haven't yet is all about political calculus. Oh, golly, the specter of politics again. I know this is so unseemly, except when the left practices it. So they're just trying to put themselves in the most advantageous position. I guess we're going to stop talking about obstruction of justice with respect to the Russian collusion investigation. I guess that's done. I guess Jerry Nadler can have a timeout.
They didn't get what they wanted, so now they're on to this new thing.
I know they're going to continue on all parallel paths with all these investigations. But of course now the profound and important and urgent is all Ukraine all the time. That's what's pushed Pelosi in because it pushed the numbers to critical mass in the House.
Right. And an impeachment is not a criminal proceeding. It's political in nature when you're at the House level, I think.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And so that's what I said. They can, as Tim Carney wrote in Washington Examiner, they can impeach him for being a Republican if they want. They don't need a reason. So go ahead, impeach him. Do it. What are you waiting for? That's my posture.
And then it moves to the Senate. And does he have support from all Republican senators? I mean, there's Thune, dreamy, Ben Sass and Mitt Romney seemed, they weren't pleased with what happened yesterday.
This remains deeply troubling, and we'll see where it leads, but the first reaction is troubling. Clearly, if there were a quid pro quo, that would take it to an entirely more extreme level.
But even Mitt Romney knows, obviously, that there was no quid pro quo in this phone conversation.
Well, it's not obvious. It's not obvious to some Republican commentators, both Phil Klein and David French, writing the Washington Examiner and National Review, respectively, suggests that, reading it in context, there was a strong implicit quid pro quo, if not an explicit one. And I keep hearing that if there was a quid pro quo, well, then that's, basically we're supposed to concede that that's impeachable. I'm not conceding that. That's a legitimate grounds for impeachment. Anything's impeachable, as I just suggested, because it's all politics. Legitimate grounds for impeachment. It rises to the level of a high crime or misdemeanor, and it's not customary politics. I'm not conceding that. So, the deeply troubling quotes from Romney to a lesser extent, Sass. Sass is really just talking about sort of the rush to judgment on the left and the rush to circle the wagons on the right. But what about that? What would you do? How would you react? Who would you blame? And how would that influence your vote, for example, in 2020, if President Trump were removed from office? Because, of course, if he were removed from office, that would necessarily have to include a bunch of Republicans in the Senate, because there's a 2/3 requirement to remove him, right? To convict him and have him removed from office. Mike Murphy, who's a insufferable political hack,
otherwise known as Pat Murray.
Mike Murphy.
I know.
The
Mike
political
Murphy,
operative,
the
not
political
Chris
operative.
Murphy, the Democrat senator from Connecticut. Mike Murphy was on MSNBC, because that's about the only place that'll still have him on. He's so lacking in credibility. Nonetheless, like a lot of Republican Party reptiles, he still slithers around in the circles of power and has relationships and talks to people, despite the fact he's a dope. And he was an advisor to Romney and W. Mike Murphy on MSNBC had this to say about the transcript. And don't pay so much attention about what he's saying, his analysis of the transcript and what it means, because who cares what Mike Murphy thinks. But pay more attention to what he may know to be true, the politics of this, and the relative strength of spines within the Republican caucus in the Senate.
Yeah, no, the old theory on impeachment was it would help the Republicans. I think that's out the window now. This is a much clearer incident than the Mueller report information. And so when the president released this transcript, you really have to parse your way through it and eliminate all subtext to say no quid pro quo. I mean, I agree with David. It doesn't have to be a quid pro quo. But look at the context. The aid to the Ukraine defensive military aid was held up. The president of the Ukraine asked for anti-tank missiles because he's got a problem, Russian tanks, Russian mercenary tanks. And the president says, well, let me talk to you a minute about some other things. You know, I'm a great friend of the Ukraine, except there hasn't really been paid back. Let's get into this Biden matter. I mean, it's a classic shakedown. That's going to be the argument. And I'm telling you, these Senate Republicans, should the Democrats vote impeachment, which I think is far more likely than not, are going to be pinned down to a yes-no answer. And if they provide cover for Donald Trump on this, a clear violation of his role as president, we're going to lose Colorado with Cory Gardner. We're going to lose Maine with Susan Collins. We're going to lose Arizona with Nick Saley. And it's going to be, you know, the Democrats will put the Senate very much in place. So it's not only a question of what they ought to do, the cold, hard politics of it are going to get worse and worse from Trump. And maybe that'll motivate him going forward. I think Romney's right, more facts. I can tell you this. One Republican senator told me if it was a secret vote, 30 Republican senators would vote to impeach Trump.
Well, if it was a secret vote, 30 Republican senators would vote to impeach Trump.
That's a lie.
Well, it's not a secret vote. You have to stand up and be heard, be recorded on which side of history you stood, thank goodness, because of, I mean, the people are cowardly enough when they do have to defend their votes. Imagine if they didn't have to. 30 senators, though, this is what I'm talking about. And if you had some high-profile senators who like to coddle up to the D.C. press corps like the Mitt Romneys, break bad publicly, well, who knows what could happen. So what would you do? How would you react?
Well, in his defense, he was at a planned speaking event, and people asked him about what was going on. Well, Mitt Romney, he didn't come out. I mean, he was at...
No. He was in the hallway, and Jonathan Martin from the New York Times asked him what was going on, what his reaction was.
Well, the interview that I saw, he was at a sit-down event.
Yeah. So he was forced to respond. Hardly. So that's not much of a defense of Mitt Romney. And frankly, there aren't many good defenses to Mitt Romney.
Well, which Republican senators is he talking about?
It doesn't matter. Just say 30. The point is that he's suggesting if it were a secret ballot, there would be effectively the votes to remove him, to convict and remove him from office. So I ask again, momentum's a funny thing, and as I want to say about Illinois politics, and it goes largely for office holders at the federal level too. The bad news is that most of them are cowards, and the good news is that most of them are cowards. They can be led. They can be led by strong principled leadership that's unyielding, and they can also be led into fleeing like a place is on fire in a cowardly fashion. So what if they're led in the latter way? What if they're led like a fire drill? What would you do? How would you react? What do you think the politics are? I mean, a majority, darn near a supermajority, oppose impeachment at this point of the general public, according to some polling. And that can change too, particularly as they, beat the drums of war here. How do you react to what Mike Murphy said? How much confidence do you have in the Republican Party? Think about it. Now, the flip side is Mike McCall, who's the ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and 18 other Republican members of that committee sent a letter and an op-ed to the Wall Street Journal saying this: the transcript released yesterday with Mr. Zelensky's consent shows unequivocally there was no quid pro quo. Mr. Trump never mentioned military aid or suggested he would suspend funding until allegations about Hunter Biden were investigated. This Democrat-manufactured crisis has consumed Congress, and no one is more pleased than Vlad Putin. Intentional or not, Democrats are literally following the Russian president's playbook. His goal now, as before the 2016 election, has been to pit Americans against one another and erode confidence in our democratic process. The world, which should focus on Mr. Putin's illegitimate annexation of Crimea and continuing aggression elsewhere in Ukraine, instead is fixated on this partisan domestic theater. So there's some pushback from House Republicans. Gene in Lake Zurich, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Morning, guys. Hey, I just want to talk a little bit about the hypocrisy of Congress discussing quid pro quo, because when they want to get a vote for a bill that they propose, what do? I'm in Congress, I propose a bill. Dan, I want your vote. You go, hey, what's in it for my constituents?
Right.
And so I juice up the bill for you. They do it all the time. And so now there's a phone conversation where it's not explicit quid pro quo, and maybe there is, maybe there isn't, and they're going to impeach him for that. They should look inside themselves first.
Thanks for the call, Gene. They would argue in response to that. Here's the argument back. The
Right.
argument is, well, that's different because that's log rolling. That's the give and take of politics for the benefit of particular constituencies. My constituency versus your constituency. You give me this for your people. You give me this for my people, I should say, and I'll give you this for your people. See, that's looking at it in terms of your constituents' interest rather than your personal interest. What they would say, this is different because Trump is using the machinery of the state to advance his personal interests, not the national security or political and quality of life interests of the American public. And that's what makes it different. And there's something to that. But I don't think it's as bright lined as some of these pundits and politicians would have you believe. I say again, do you think that on a routine basis, it is altruism which informs the decision-making of politicians? At any level, at every level, including President Trump. Is it altruism or is it political self-interest more often than not? How do you separate the two? As it pertains to the law, as it pertains to something as important as a standard of impeachment. I mean, there are certain things you can separate, obviously. If I use public funds for personal use, that's easy. That's a bright line. But I'm saying in conversation, when it comes to making decisions in a political context, the negotiating, the leveraging, the arguing, the organizing to pressure, how do you separate where it is illicit quid pro quoing or pressuring from where it's just politics? I think that there are people suggesting there are these definitive bright lines that there aren't. It'd be different if I will give you personally $1 million to investigate Hunter Biden. or I will take $1 million to do this or that. But when you're talking about this in the context, by the way, since there's so much emphasis on context to implicate President Trump, when you're talking about this in the context of President Trump's conversation about 2016 election meddling that emanated from Ukraine, which, by the way, the D.C. press corps has reported on. I know they forgot all that reporting.
Well, yeah.
Then all of a sudden, those nuances and those difficult questions are out the window.
The bottom line is there is no quid pro. Oh my God, I can't even say quid pro quo here at all in this conversation. And even the left CNN, who was all over this yesterday, like, oh, this is quid pro quo. Oh my gosh, he's going to be impeached. Once they processed it and read it this morning, they changed their tune and said that there is no quid pro quo here. So they realized that too. At least one of the reporters did, and I was surprised by it. But who's pressuring who? Here's that conversation that Biden had in front of a group of people when he was bragging that he got the Ukrainian
at the Council of Foreign Relations.
So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
And again, what the pushback to that would be, well, that's different because that was in the interests of American national security. You had a corrupt prosecutor, and so we leveraged the public's resources in the form of foreign aid to get a better outcome in Ukraine and a prosecutor we could trust to pursue corruption. It's not the same because Trump is deriving personal political benefit, or was attempting to, and that's what makes it different. I'm saying this is the argument that has to be addressed. Margot in Burr Ridge.
Yeah, there used to be something called a statesman, and a statesman would think about what was good for America. So, in other words, if there was a bridge to nowhere being built, the question would be, is this good to spend the taxpayer money from the rest of Americans on the bridge to nowhere, or is it not good for the rest of America? It's your district, my district, what's in it for these people. We have become a people that is concerned with what we can get out of other people, other citizens. And that is so wrong. We have completely lost the concept of statesmanship among ourselves, as well as, of course, the feckless Congress. And to me, that's what Trump is. He is a statesman. I mean, he may not be the statesman people like for his style or whatever, but he really does think of the good of the greater good of the country. And I mean, personally, I think he could be making a lot more money if he'd stayed in private business. But he's a statesman. That's what it is. And it really is very upsetting to me that that concept is completely out the window. It's all for what they can get personally or their little fiefdom.
Thanks for the call, Margaret. Right, because you talk about being bribed. How about bribing the citizens? Isn't that what so much of the system is? Being bribed with our own money? I mean, aren't we in the America de Tocqueville warned us not to be in, not to pursue? Now, is that a greater threat to our republic than President Trump or any other politician? The culture here, where it's about bribing people with their own money and who can do it most effectively to build the biggest constituencies? Larger political question. I guess we don't ask those. And with respect to Trump, let me ask you this. Trump benefits politically, personally, assuming that, he's even worried about Biden being the nominee, which I don't concede, assuming that anybody thinks Biden's going to be the nominee, which I don't concede. But let's just say that he is. And let's say that he derives some personal political benefit with respect to 2020 from seeing a legitimate area of inquiry investigated. Is that more problematic than leveraging your political office for personal enrichment, which was the Clinton protocol and the Biden protocol? Is that more offensive? Is that more problematic than Hunter Biden getting paid $3 million And Joe Biden intercedes on effectively on his behalf to kill an investigation into a company from which he derived the $3 million. Which is more offensive to you, the personal enrichment or politicians playing electoral politics? Jeremy in Northwest Indiana.
Yeah, I was thinking the only reason that they're not going to do anything about Biden is it's for pure leverage. Like, they have dirt on Biden, and they're so confident that Biden is going to become our next president that they want to keep that leverage. That way he will do whatever it is that they want him to do.
Who's they? Ukraine?
Yes. Well, no, I mean, I think they have the dirt. They have the evidence on Joe and Hunter with the whole Ukraine deal. They have that. They have all the info that they need.
Who's the
but they're
they?
not going to come forward. The Democratic Party.
Oh,
the
I
Democratic Party has all
I
this
see.
dirt on Joe Biden.
I see. All right. Thanks, Jeremy.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Listen up, Chicago area. Are you interested in making active and passive income each month flipping real estate tax liens? Then listen to this. The ProSource Tax Lien Company is offering a free tax lien flip kit, which contains educational videos and a step-by-step report that will show you how to earn government-regulated returns up to 18% that are secured by real estate. Plus, see how you can access tax lien inventory not available to the public. So, if you want to become a real estate investor without swinging a hammer or being a landlord, then text Chicago to 31,000 now to get your free tax lien flip kit and get ready to learn how to flip tax liens and acquire houses well below wholesale prices with great profit potential, all from home working part-time. Text Chicago to 31,000 right now to get your free tax lien investor kit, plus 2 free tickets to a live training event, which includes a free smartwatch just for attending. Text Chicago to 31,000. That's Chicago to 31,000 for your free tax lien kit now. Individual results may vary.
When John Mariotti started Woodland Windows and Doors in 1969, he knew that relationships were important. He knew that he needed to look out for his customers' best interests. Today, Woodland is run by the second and third generation of Mariottis, who continue to build great relationships and to service their customers. When it's time to replace your windows and doors, trust your Marvin retailer, Woodland Windows and Doors, to guide you through the process. They have a huge selection of Marvin replacement windows and doors, specialists who know their stuff, and professional installation. Homeowners and builders turn to Woodland Windows and Doors for the individual attention they get on each project. Every job is unique. Every job is done right. That's why for 50 years, they've trusted Woodland Windows and Doors with their projects. Woodland Windows and Doors, your Marvin authorized installing retailer, provides the perfect solution and professional installation. They're online at woodlandwindows.com or stop by the Woodland Windows and Doors showroom at the corner of Lake and Gary in Roselle.
AM 560. The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I still want to know, say you're in a state that mattered with Republican senators. What would you do? How would you react if a Republican congressman or a Republican senator voted to impeach and or convict President Trump at 6:36?
And later, she ran a half marathon, but in the wrong city. We'll explain. But first, into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
57 degrees this morning. A tentative deal between GM and striking auto workers could happen soon. Fox Business and CNBC are both reporting negotiations between the UAW and GM have intensified over the past couple of days. The whistleblower complaint against President Trump could be released today. That complaint filed by an intelligence officer who was not part of a phone call between President Trump and Ukraine's president. At the same time, acting DNI Joseph McGuire will be grilled by Congress today about delayed submissions of Inspector General's report about that complaint. And the president yesterday again criticizing the launch of a House impeachment inquiry into him.
No push, no pressure, no nothing. It's all a hoax, folks. It's all a big hoax. And the sad thing about this hoax is that we work so hard with all of these countries.
It is the opinion of Connecticut Democrat Senator Chris Murphy that the transcript of the president's phone call was devastating.
I don't know how much clearer it could have been at the end of that phone call to the president of Ukraine that if he wanted a good relationship with the president of the United States, he better start investigating Vice President Biden.
This morning, the ranking member on the House Judiciary Committee, Doug Collins, says Democrats are trying to hit an imaginary target of getting rid of a president they simply don't like. French President Emmanuel Macron says France will no longer make trade agreements with countries that aren't part of the Paris Climate Accord. There's only one country, major country in the world that's not party to that agreement, the United States. Former French President Jacques Chirac has died. He was 86. He's credited with some reforms in having France give up the franc and switching over to the euro. 5 are hospitalized here in Chicago following a major crash involving a stolen vehicle on Chicago's southwest side. The driver of that vehicle remains on the loose. Authorities are investigating a series of overdoses this week in Joliet that could be linked to cocaine laced with fentanyl. Cubs fell to the Pirates 4-2 in Pittsburgh. They're bounced from the playoff chase after a Brewer win over the Reds. Wellington Castillo a 3-run home run. Sox beat the Indians 8-3. The news service of Indeed.com, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring, where business owners post job openings with screener questions, then sort, review, and communicate with candidates from an online dashboard. Learn more at Indeed.com/hire. 6:34 is our time. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager says the left is not hiding its agenda.
The left's threat to everything we treasure is unprecedented in American history. By the way, this is not a charge, it's a description. They admit it. They acknowledge that they have contempt for the West, contempt for the Judeo-Christian value system, contempt for the Constitution.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at 11, right before Sean Hannity at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
Want your home's furnace to stay safe and reliable? And want to prevent any potential problems before they happen? At your local 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning, we recommend an annual furnace inspection and tune-up. Right now, get big savings on a furnace tune-up. Call 855-1-HOUR. Because not taking care of your furnace, that's just cold.
Your comfort is just a call away. Call 1 Hour.
Terms and conditions may apply. Call for details. Independently owned and operated. Licensed in the respective state or county.
Hey, Craig and Leslie here from In the Know. We know how important it is to take a partner in the passenger seat when you're on a long road trip. You need a trusted friend and a voice to help you navigate through the hills and valleys of your journey. We want to be that voice for you on your road to retirement.
Absolutely. Our whole team at Wealth Management Group will be by your side for the long haul.
Let Wealth Management Group be your compass and your guide to retirement.
Find us at investwithwmg.com and tune in each week to In the Know Sunday mornings at 10 right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Remember when you could pick up the phone and talk to a friendly voice for technical difficulties?
Yeah, now it's a help desk on the other side of the planet that knows nothing about my business and usually isn't much help at all.
I got stuck in a help chat room the other day, and it was endless back and forth. I don't think they ever really understood or cared about my issue.
It's tough to get great technical help these days. To find people that really care and invest in your success. That's what Turnkey IT does. And you can rely on them to take care of everything IT, as if they were right by your side, but without the expense of an in-house IT department. Get to know the local team members at Turnkey IT that continue to serve businesses just like yours, from 1 to 200 employees. A friendly face with a personal touch that's close by and believes your word really means something. For only $7.95 per month, you can have local IT help and forget about dealing with computer and network problems forever.
Leave the technical stuff to the pros so you can focus on the important things. Visit turnkey.pro today. Turnkey.pro.
A lost dog, not a lost cause. Read Catching Murphy, the latest book from the Associated Press, available now exclusively at Amazon.com.
It is 6:36. Traffic center time. Here's Jim Talamonte.
Tri-State Tollway northbound. We're looking at delays from Southwest Highway to 75th Street. From the Stevenson to 47th, and it's jammed. Roosevelt to North Avenue. The crash blocking the left shoulder. Inbound Eden, got a 2-minute delay. Cicero to the junction. Inbound Kennedy. It's 35 minutes now from O'Hare to downtown. 15 from Montrose, 12 in the express lane. Outbound 12 minutes to Montrose. And 27 to the airport. Got to Eisenhower. Delay start at St. Charles. 50 minutes, 390 to downtown. 36 for Manhunt. Outbound 33 to 390. Stevenson, 46 minutes, 355 to the drive. Ryan, 25 minutes from 95th. I-57, 20 minutes, side east to the merge. Bishop, 430. That's traffic. I'm Jim Telemonte. On AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. In our 1 hour heating and air conditioning weather center, we're seeing a sunny day ahead. Breezy and pleasant, high 71. Currently, 57 degrees. Your next news update at 7 and Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs powered by Tandem HR. Heard Sunday evenings at 6.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, and Kim Strassel, the Wall Street Journal, reacting to the contents of the transcript of the call between Trump and Zelensky yesterday, had this to say.
You know, we should point out that he has also added a different reason for why he withheld that money. He said that it was because he was unhappy that Europeans were not also putting money up as well, too. And this has been a long-standing there's an element of this that certainly would make some sense in that he's long complained that Europeans don't contribute enough to global causes, whether it be NATO or other countries that need assistance. So anyway, but that's his official reasoning. But yes, he should get it all out there because it's going to leak, and probably only pieces of it will leak. There's currently a huge pressure in Congress for the Inspector General and the Director of National Intelligence to hand over the whistleblower complaint. I think you can bet that if that were to happen, only selective pieces of it would be leaked as people tried to craft narratives. And we had too much of all of this during the whole Russia upheaval, collusion, supposed upheaval. So it's get it out there and let people make their own decisions.
And that's the next shoe to drop is this whistleblower complaint that will be forthcoming.
Yeah, it's already been declassified, and allegedly the man just wants clearance so his attorney can be with him when he's questioned behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
And that could happen as early as today, folks. My Congressman Quigley already read it and said that there's some disturbing elements in it.
Did he let the other little rascals in his gang read it as well?
I'm Froggy.
And again, this all turns on that whistleblower complaint and a couple of phrases in President Trump's conversation with Zelensky that included discussions of military aid. And he wanted to buy more Javelin missiles from the United States for defense purposes. And then after Zelensky says that, I'd like you to do us a favor. And there's the context that provides the quid pro quo argument, and the premise from which the quid pro argument starts, which I reject, but a lot of Republicans don't, is that a quid pro quo is sort of a per se impeachable offense. It's per se problematic rather than per se politics. And the additional context of this, as we discussed, is Trump's interest in what happened in 2016, which is something that John Durham, the U.S. attorney from Connecticut, tapped by Attorney General Barr to investigate 2016, is also interested in. What the D.C. Press Corps used to be interested in, the dealings of, well, Trump associates like Manafort, but John Solomon and others also interested in the dealings of George Soros and Hillary Clinton supporters in Ukraine. That connection to the effort to interfere, influence the 2016 election. That used to be an area of concern. Now looking back at 2016 is not an area of concern. And looking at back at anything that happened during the Obama administration, of course, has never been an area of concern for either Democrats or the D.C. Press Corps. And that's why they've decided to just wave a wand and give Joe Biden a clean bill of health, despite, at minimum, the conflict of interest that he blithely ignored to intercede in Ukrainian domestic politics in the first place. So I go back to the Wall Street Journal op-ed on this just to sort of provide some context, since that's the word that everybody's bandying about, to where we are at present. A whistleblower who is still unidentified brings a complaint based on what he heard about a president's phone call.
So he never actually was in the room listening to the phone call.
Just take that statement in and of itself.
Process that, please.
Whistleblower unidentified brings a complaint based on what he heard about a president's phone call. By the way, the Journal notes, the Office of Legal Counsel memo says in passing that the Inspector General's review acknowledges, quote, some indicia of an arguable political bias on the part of the complainant in favor of a rival political candidate. Oh, good. So when this whistleblower complaint is released, now we're going to interpret an op-ed from some disgruntled intel officer or whoever he is. We're going to have to interpret that in the context of whether or not the allegations that he makes are also evidence that would lead to the threshold being cleared to impeach and remove a president. Good Lord. The IG, writes the Journal, makes the flawed legal judgment that Congress must see the complaint. When his argument is rebutted, word leaks to the press. Congress cries cover-up. Suddenly we are putting the country through another impeachment upheaval. Is anyone else troubled that this is all it takes to impeach a president? If a bureaucrat who dislikes a president can trigger a complaint based on hearsay that forces the disclosure of presidential diplomacy, the conduct of foreign policy will be severely hampered. Democrat presidents won't be spared once Republicans figure out how this works. They go on to say, Mr. Trump's refusal to buy the normal guardrails of presidential decorum is often offensive. It can also be risky for himself and U.S. interests. We've often criticized him for it. But impeaching a president is voting to annul an election, and that should require far more evidence than we have from this Ukraine phone call. I think that's a pretty reasonable position. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636-DA, turnkey.pro text line. But it may not be a position that some nervous Republicans concerned only, are you ready for this?
What?
Concerned only about their political self-interest in re-election in 2020.
Oh, no.
Could you imagine a politician focused on his or her re-election to the exclusion of the interests of their constituents or the country?
You mean thinking about themselves first?
Shocking.
I've never heard of it, Dan.
Candace in Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin. You're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
And nobody's answered the question that you asked originally, which was what would you do if they vote to impeach? And right now it's just inquiry. But I agree with Ian Bongino. If they go this far, I'm going to be going to Washington, and I hope other people will too. But one of the things I'm going to say is Twitter is more powerful, in my opinion, than the media is currently, which drives them crazy.
What's more? Wait, Matt. What's more powerful than the media?
Well, I think Twitter
Twitter
has a very big influence on the GOP and has moved them a little bit more right than they would be without Twitter if they just were relying on, the regular media. So I think if, people are protective over the president, they need to start tweeting a lot more, because I have seen it time and time again where the GOP are about ready to sell us out. And people get really active on Twitter, and then they totally cool off and cool their heels. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. It happened with immigration. It's happened with all kinds of things. So people need to get more active on Twitter and really, shine a light on this injustice. I don't think the IG should have any say over the president. I mean, who's the IG? I mean, he doesn't have more authority than the president of the United States. It's ridiculous.
Thanks for the call, Candace. At some point, I was having this conversation with somebody about Illinois yesterday at this dinner I was at, and I was sort of comparing it to the revolt that occurred with the Yellow Vests in France. And my question was, when do reasonable people start acting unreasonably? And I don't mean that in terms of violence or anything like this. But I do mean this in terms of really passionately engaging. When do people show up in yellow, proverbial yellow vest, metaphorical yellow vests
Right.
at Daily Plaza? And I would say the same thing at the federal level. When do reasonable people stop indulging unreason? And and so respond, quote unquote, unreasonably themselves, meaning demonstratively. When do we say, the decorum and being lectured on civility while I'm being called a Nazi? You know what? I don't think so. I'm a little tired of it, and I'm not going to be quiet anymore. So again, just to be clear, before some leftist hysteric calls in, I'm not talking about violence. I'm never talking about violence.
No.
I'm talking about petitioning your government. I'm talking about challenging your fellow citizen intellectually, pointedly. Again, as Chesterton said, those who give in to unreason are ready for unkindness. Because the only way you can enforce unreasonable positions is to be unkind. Thus, the monstrosities on the left. So that's sort of my question when I say, what if Republicans in the Senate, per that dope Mike Murphy, what if you had 30 Republican senators who were willing to be less sheepish and actually vote to convict because of the frenzy whipped up by the socialists and their media handmaidens? What would you do? What would you do if you're in Illinois and you had 2 Republican senators? What would you do? We're going to have Mike Braun on the show at the bottom of the 7 o'clock hour.
Right. We can.
What
can ask him where he stands.
I don't think you're going to have to worry about this, but in Indiana, what if Mike Braun and Todd Young, those are 2 Republican senators, what if they voted to convict and remove him from office? What if Ron Johnson up in Wisconsin voted to convict and remove him from office? Joni Ernst in Iowa. How would you react? I mean, is there a time where it's time for reasonable people who've tried to think through these things thoughtfully, and you don't have to affiliate with the Republican Party, you don't have to be a conservative, but reasonable people who try to be thoughtful on this. I don't like Trump, but I'm still trying to look at, the substance of the choices he's making and the outcomes, or, that's what I'm saying. Or I don't like this policy choice, but I actually do like this other policy choice, and I still don't like the guy, but I'm looking at, how the decisions he makes that are about my quality of life, not about his personality or personal political interests. I just feel, is there a time where, you don the yellow vest? Joe in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I think the Republicans should really call their bluff, the Democrats. They should try to bring up articles of impeachment and get everybody to vote on these things. You know what? Let's have an impeachment. Let's have a trial, because there's discovery on both sides of the aisle then, and there's a decorum. So they should have it. And Dan, I don't know if you know the legal question of this, but if Trump, God forbid, is impeached before 2020's election, would that bar him from running in 2020?
Well, you mean running while under impeachment, but not convicted and removed?
No, if he was convicted and removed, would that
Yes,
actually prevent
yes.
him from running?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Joe. It actually would be interesting if he was just impeached by the House. I mean, I don't know how you would ever do this, but the Senate doesn't take up the matter or the trial, or the House. I mean, they wouldn't do this, but just to play out this ridiculous sort of. I mean, we're in surreal times as it is, so why not play it out to the Salvador Dali-ist extreme? What if he's impeached and he's running for re-election, having been impeached but not convicted and removed? That would be fun.
That would be.
John in Lombard, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We should not be surprised at all what's going on. Impeachment is of profound importance there up on the high shelf. And the left they've devalued everything: life, gender, climate, school, a war, you name it. You know how they are. So what's impeachment? Now it's become nothing. It's just a little game they play, and they're going to do anything they can to get this guy out of office, because he is going to win the next election. And that scares me, because they will do anything to get him out of office. These are little things, and this will go away within 2 weeks.
Thanks, John. Rob in Ukrainian Village.
Yeah, the impeachment card is just one more thing that's a part of their playbook now to slander the man, drag him through the mud, and use this part of their playbook where the process becomes the punishment, whether it's the trials and the hearings on Kavanaugh, the investigations into Trump, and the countless other things that we've had to deal with the last few years. They just turn the process into the punishment, so you can have that asterisk next to your name about how they destroyed everything that you are and that you stand for. And I, for one, I'm really fed up and sick of it all. So thanks.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. Tony in Plainfield.
Thanks for taking my call. I think Republicans, conservatives especially, should dig in. The best defense is a good offense. Press our representatives, our congressmen, our senators, go across state lines, push them for standing fast and taking care of conservatives and our business, and take a lead from Churchill and never, ever surrender.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Tony. I'll tell you what, I think that's sound political advice. I know in politics the idea of pressuring anybody is just an affront to our notions of decency, but absolutely, this is something that the left understands and practices much more consistently and wholeheartedly than conservatives do. Always keep the pressure on politicians. Always put pressure on politicians in advance of the policy agenda that you would like to see them pursue. Pressure works.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The Lou Dobbs Financial Report is brought to you by Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Visit signaturebank.bank for your commercial banking needs.
I'm Keith Peters in for Lou Dobbs. Jewel to end advertising and lobbying efforts of e-cigarettes. eBay CEO steps down as the company seeks to sell assets. Those stories next.
This is your Stock Market Bulletin. I'm Bobby Richards. The CEO of an obscure $3 tech stock founded by the blue-collar son of a police officer has captured the attention of Donald Trump. Trump met with the CEO at the White House. And since then, Donald Trump appears to have become the company's #1 fan. He showed up at a groundbreaking ceremony. He called the CEO one of the most successful business people across the globe. And he said what they are doing is the 8th wonder of the world. We decided to investigate for ourselves and reached out to the premier stock analyst in the United States, Oxford Club chief investment strategist Alex Green. Alex told us the company is landing massive deals, including $450 million with Nokia, $395 million with Microsoft, $828 million with Cisco, and $29.2 billion with Apple. The company is set to create 50,000 jobs in America this year, and Alex has now declared this $3 stock his #1 play for 2019. Go to onestockretirement.com for more details, including how much Alex expects the stock to rise this year.
Paid for by Oxford Club.
E-cigarette maker Juul is shutting down broadcast, print, and digital advertising and ending lobbying efforts in Washington as safety concerns over vaping intensify. The company says its CEO is stepping down and will be replaced by a senior executive from Altria, the maker of Marlboro. Altria took a 35% stake in Juul in December at a cost of $13 billion. The CEO of eBay is stepping down as the online retailer attempts to sell or spin off some of its major assets. CFO Scott Schenkel will become the interim chief executive as the company seeks a permanent replacement for CEO Devin Wenig. Best Buy says it plans to expand its remote health monitoring services for seniors, including sensors that can be worn on their arms, to 5 million, up from 1 million in 5 years. Please join us for Lou Dobbs tonight at 7 and 10 Eastern on the Fox Business Network. This is the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
Balance of nature. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I'd hear the commercial constantly. You always wonder, is this for real? I said, let me try it. And I've been on it ever since. And I'm not stopping. I'm not stopping. Last summer, we went up into the mountains with the family. And we decided to go into caverns and walk on rocks and stuff like that. And I was all over the place. And they said, oh, Grandma's taking her super pills. I said, they're not super pills. They're fruits and vegetables.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. To end the month of September, Balance of Nature is offering a 30% discount and free shipping on your first preferred order of Balance of Nature. This special is ending between now and September 30th, so don't wait. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code CHICAGO.
Nothing speaks louder about an auto dealer than a happy customer. And at Joe Cotton Ford, they have many.
I had a 2001 Excursion, was about 6 months old. We got T-boned, $29,000 worth of damage, bent the frame. After a few months, got it back from you guys, and it actually drove and rode better than when I got it from the factory. Well, service visits are always top-notch. You know, your service department, starting with Dave and going down all your service riders, are just amazing.
Another reason why folks keep coming back to Joe Cotton Ford. It's Truck Month at Joe Cotton Ford. Get a great deal on an F-150, the best-selling truck for 42 straight years. Joe Cotton Ford has over 40 F-150s to choose from, with up to $15,000 off XLT crew cabs. All built Ford proud, built Ford tough. All incentives applied. Stock number T9205. Celebrate Truck Month at Joe Cotton Ford, Gary and North Avenue in Carroll Stream, or at joecottonford.com. joecottonford.com.
Message and data rates may apply. Individual results may vary. Exclusions apply.
But hey, I'm buying a huge flat screen TV so I can finally see it without my glasses.
Why not just get LASIK at the LASIK Vision Institute? That's what I'm doing.
My glasses and contacts are a pain. I'd love to finally get rid of these, but who can afford LASIK?
You can. Because the LASIK Vision Institute is offering dramatically low prices and an absolutely free consultation. Just text TRY to 350-350. The LASIK Vision Institute has already performed over 1 million procedures. They use the latest FDA-approved LASIK technology that helps the majority of patients achieve 20/20 vision for a fraction of what others charge. Better vision, better value. The LASIK Vision Institute. Make this the year you finally get LASIK. For a free consultation plus an extra 20% discount, text TRY to 350-350. You'll see for free if LASIK is right for you. That's TRY to 350-350.
Watch today's show live right now on the Income Store live video stream at 560theanswer.com.
It's news, opinion, insight. It's AM 560, The Answer. WIND, Chicago.
It started the whole Ukraine controversy. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The whistleblower complaint no longer under wraps.
We know that it's been declassified and has been released, so it should be available for everyone to look at.
And Republican Congressman Chris Stewart says there are no surprises to him. Democrats call it deeply troubling. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, after emerging from a secure location where lawmakers read the complaint, Democrat Adam Schiff, who chairs the House Intelligence Committee, said he found the document to be disturbing and credible.
Provides information for the committee to follow up with other witnesses and documents.
Republican Congressman Mark Meadows told Fox and Friends this controversy is all about politics.
There was no promise of anything like was reported. There was no actually quid pro quo.
Schiff has said he wants a whistleblower to testify as soon as possible. Dave.
On Rachel, next hour, the acting director of national intelligence, Joseph McGuire, will testify publicly at the House, then privately at the Senate, where Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says
this is about abuse of power by an overreaching executive, something the founding fathers feared.
The president insists the rough transcript shows while he did ask Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden and his son, there's no mention of withholding military aid.
It's a joke. Impeachment for that?
All this focus on the call, the whistleblower, and impeachment has led to concern the push for gun control legislation that the president might support could take a back seat.
He put the blame on Democrats.
I don't know whether or not they're going to have time to do any deals. I don't think they can do any deals. You know, we were working on guns, gun safety. They don't even talk. All they're talking about is nonsense.
But behind the scenes, it appears conversations between the Hill and White House are in fact taking place.
Fox's David Spunt. In Texas, a condemned triple murderer got a lethal injection last night. His last words, "I feel it." America's listening to Fox.
Sunrise, 57 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. The trial of two men charged with the murder of 9-year-old Tyshawn Lee in Chicago will continue. Lawyers for Dwight Doty and Corey Morgan unsuccessfully sought a mistrial yesterday. The defense claiming police waited too long to hand over evidence to prosecutors that officers had stopped two men on the street for questioning in 2017, moments after recovering 5 guns, including a pistol, later linked to Tyshawn's killing. A former suburban high school teacher is charged with sexually abusing a 14-year-old boy last year. Dana Chidester appeared in a Chicago federal courtroom yesterday after being accused as late as last year of having sex with a teen at her home, in her car, and at suburban hotels between September and December of 2018. She had previously worked as a teacher at Reed Custer High School in Braidwood. Authorities are investigating a series of overdoses this week in Joliet that could be linked to cocaine laced with fentanyl. Police say 6 overdoses have been reported since Sunday. Prosecutors in Wisconsin are pushing ahead with charges against 4 people who they say went on a spending spree with counterfeit money, and all 4 are from Chicago. Cubs president Theo Epstein denying speculation this morning that he's returning to the Red Sox. Epstein shot down a Boston Globe report that he might be the surprising candidate for the Red Sox baseball president of operations. He served as Boston's GM, you might recall, from 2003 to 2011. Epstein's Cubs fell to the Pirates 4-2 and fell out of the playoff chase after a Brewers win over the Reds. White Sox beat the Indians 8-3. The news, a service of LifeLock with Norton. No one wants to wake up to find they're the victim of identity theft or that malware is compromising their smartphone. LifeLock with Norton now includes protection for your identity and devices. Limited time offer, 30% off your first year, ends October 6th. Join at lifelock.com, promo code RISK. 7:04 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Sean Hannity sees Trump helping minorities.
More than 80% of the new jobs created under Donald Trump have gone to, if you can believe it, minorities. Oh, I thought Republicans hated minorities. I thought Republicans are racist and they're sexist and they're homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, and they keep saying racist, racist, racist. Which one are you looking at?
The Sean Hannity Show. Afternoons at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money. Easy to learn, easy to use, small business software tailored just for you. With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
When it comes to keeping your small business's valuable information safe, Dell Small Business Technology Advisors can recommend tailored security solutions like servers, storage, networking. Plus, right now, get up to 45% off select business computers with Intel Core processors. Running your own small business is a big challenge, but with the right partner, it's a lot easier. To speak with an advisor today, call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest-growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Mick O'Rourke, President and CEO of Signature Bank, Chicago's business bank. I'd like to thank our customers for selecting Signature as their trusted banking partner to help build their businesses. We started Signature in 2006, and we've had the opportunity to meet so many hardworking Chicagoans. From third-generation family-owned businesses on the west side of Chicago to tech innovators at 1871. Signature Bank is proud to work across many different industries in the city and beyond. As the fastest-growing, independently owned business bank in Chicago, Signature is always welcoming new customers. I'd love to meet you and learn about your business.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Indeed, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring, where business owners and HR professionals can post job openings with screener questions, then sort, review, and communicate with candidates from an online dashboard. Learn more at Indeed.com/hire.
7:07 in the AM 560 Traffic Center. Here is Jim Telemonti.
Northbound I-55 traffic is stopped from Renwick Road past 126 due to a crash. More delays kick in at 355. 58 minutes from the Veterans Memorial Tollway to Lakeshore Drive. 42 minutes from the Tri-State. Outbound 38 minutes to 355. Eden's 22 minutes. Lake Cook to the Junction. Kennedy 50 minutes. O'Hare to downtown. Locals quicker than the Express. Eisenhower 58 minutes. 390 to downtown. 42 from Mannheim. The ride from 95th to downtown is 30 minutes. I-57, 34 minutes. I-80 to the merge, Bishop Ford, 36. Seeing delays on the northbound Tri-State. 115th and Ridgeland, 47th, and Roosevelt to Lawrence. And that's traffic. I'm Jim Telemonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. In our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center, here's our meteorologist, Steve Williams.
Sunny for today. It'll be breezy, rather pleasant. A high today at 71. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 58. Clouds tomorrow, breezy. Can't rule out some showers and a thunderstorm, the high at 72. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
56 degrees at O'Hare, 59 Lakefront. Next news, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Tasty Catering. The best value for your company's holiday party is at tastycatering.com.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. All right, let's take a breath.
Oh, you want to take a big breath? All
Take a little time out from talking impeachment and removal from office and transcripts of phone conversations between heads of state, and let's bring it down local. Let's talk about local corruption. Well, local education is what I meant to say.
Dan.
K through 12 education, Chicago public school style. CTU, the Chicago Teachers Union, started voting to authorize a strike earlier this week. They could authorize it before the week is out. Now, you're a coach now. Are you a CTU employee? Could you be the deciding vote?
I could be, but I have to join the union.
Oh, well, you're not. Okay. Well,
but I am a Chicago public school employee.
Maybe
I have a badge, though, too, don't you know?
Congratulations.
And a key to a locker that contains 12 volleyballs. This is big stuff.
What about the executive bathroom? Did you get
Don't
that
have
key?
that. Don't have the key to the unisex bathroom either, in case I decide to feel like a man.
Well, maybe go over to the field office and see if you get some time with Jesse Sharkey, John Cusack, Bernie Sanders, somebody, and they could arrange that for you. So the possibility of a teacher strike, pulling Peyton and Eli out of school next week, and
not that I'm coaching 5 different Chicago public school teams, and that would throw everything into chaos.
Well,
but of course, I care about the education first.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Speaking of chaos, Chicago public school finances.
Our tax dollars at work, folks.
The school system that customarily runs billion-dollar annual budget deficits, that's junk rated, whose pension fund is under 50% funded. I mean, it's not as bad as police and fires, but it's not good. Whose system features the highest paid teachers in the nation before this contract. Highest paid teachers in the nation adjusted for cost of living. Whose system features teachers who put about 40,000, if they max out their years of service and thus their pension, put about 40 grand into their pension, say about 40 grand they contribute. And then
what do they get
the Chicago public school system does essentially what turns out to be a 4-to-1 match because of the 16% that's set aside. The Chicago public school system, the taxpayers, the management side is picking up 12 percentage points. So 75% of it. And so 40 grand in and 2.1 million guaranteed out for the average Chicago public school teacher.
For one teacher.
They've rejected 15% over 4.
16%. Wow.
16% over 4. 15% over 4.
So if you made $72,000 now, then you'd make $98,000
by the end of the term.
Yeah.
Step
it's a
increases,
nice deal.
all that great stuff. Sure, and that doesn't include the benefits packages either. So that's been rejected, thus this organizing for a strike vote. And Chicago Tribune editorial board opined a couple weeks ago that they should take the deal. Including separate races based on years of service, the package works out to about a 24% raise for the average teacher over the life of the contract. Over the last 5 years, by contrast, U.S. inflation has totaled 8%. Right. Yeah. So 3x inflation.
Take the deal. It's a great deal. But what I hear my teacher friends say, they want smaller size classrooms and they need social workers at schools that have 500 plus kids.
Mm-hmm.
A nurse is not enough, and a nurse really can't do the work of a social worker.
Got it. A system that runs annual billion-dollar budget deficits and is junk rated because of its effective bankruptcy and continues imposing ever more frequent property tax increases on Chicago residents, and it runs down to Springfield for bailouts every spring. They're suggesting that we add to the largest line item, which is employees. That's the solution for them. In addition, of course, to the generous pay increases, picking up most of their pension contributions and providing gold-plated health care coverage. Okay. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by Jonathan Butcher, Senior Policy Analyst, Center for Education Policy, I should say. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you.
So what should we do about giving the Chicago Teachers Union what they deserve?
Well, I think you included really some of the high points, right? I mean, we're talking about a deal that would put teachers somewhere around $100,000 a year, potentially. This is something that we have seen teachers around the country in recent years do, and it has, effectively put students out of school and put parents in a bind as they find what to do for their children, and then sort of held lawmakers hostage, forcing them to do what they would put taxpayers in very difficult positions trying to honor whatever agreement is made. I think it's going to be important to remember going forward that some families in Chicago will have options, especially those using charter schools or finding private school options. I think that policymakers need to recognize that those families will still be sending their children to the place where they want to be sending them, and every parent in Chicago should have an option like that, especially in a time like this when enrollment in Chicago has been going down, and now teachers are walking out and putting those 300,000+ children out of the classroom.
Yeah, but if I had to pull my two kids out of school right now, they would be more than upset because they've established friendships there and they're on teams and they like their teachers.
Well, absolutely. And I think that if moving a child from one school to another is always going to be difficult, except in the case when the parent is not satisfied with what's happening with the child. And I think if a parent is already frustrated that their child is not getting a quality experience, this teacher strike forcing the parent to make accommodations while they, are trying to work and provide for their family.
We'll get over it. We'll get over it.
Yeah,
what the teachers know, what people that, I don't know, that try to reason through these things don't. That the public is going to side with the teachers. The parents who are being fleeced and whose children are being maleducated, generally speaking, in Chicago public schools, when they're not being molested, oh, by the way, they're going to side with the teachers. Then there'll be a bunch of pressure, a bunch of people in red T-shirts running around Daily Plaza, and then Lori Lightfoot will write a blank check, and then we'll just move on to the next catastrophe in Chicago. That's what the teachers have figured out, and it's not just in Chicago, as you were talking about across the nation. Teacher strikes, even in more conservative areas than Chicago, have almost always benefited the teachers, and so there's no disincentive to go through this drama because ultimately they get what they want, which is a bigger paycheck and better benefits.
Well, at some point, these numbers will come back to haunt taxpayers, and they will realize that lawmakers are not going to be able to return to that pot anymore to find money to fund these increases. I mean, the reality is that healthcare costs continue to increase. and that schools, particularly districts, are paying administrators significantly more than what teachers are making in most places. And in places like Chicago, issues of, you mentioned corruption earlier, but issues of fraud are serious and recurring.
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that
We don't care.
is an ongoing
No,
problem.
we don't care.
And
What-
needs to be remedied.
Yeah, but John, you have to understand. I mean, I'm sure you do understand this. You're just trying to be like a thoughtful policy guy. Like, here's what's judicious. We have no interest in that. We can't get people interested in 500 cases of abuse of children inside CPS in just the last decade, per this Chicago Tribune expose. Can't even get people animated about that.
Well, because it didn't happen at their school. If it happened at their school, it'd be different.
Well, it happened at some schools.
Right, I know, but not in their neighborhood. So they're like, oh,
who's there? It happened in some of their neighborhoods at their schools. What are you talking about? This happened. People aren't interested in protecting children from sexual predators. You think they're worried about dollars and cents? They just simply aren't. Here's my question after that statement. You can reject the premise if you want, but you'd be wrong to do so. The question is this. The message to parents, should it not be, listen, you want your child to be educated, you want your child to be safe, then and you want to bring some sort of reckoning and reason to the Chicago Teachers Union and, frankly, the management side of it as well, then you know what you do. You take your kid out of public school. You go get one of those tax credit scholarships that are now being offered in Illinois, thanks be to God. And that's the play. The play is forget trying to reform the Politburo from the inside. Get your kid out. He is not, or she is not, an apparatchik to serve the machine. The promise and the requirement is to provide the best environment for your child to develop intellectually and interpersonally. Get them the frack out of CPS and into a place that is actually concerned with doing that.
Oh, I think you're right. And the surveys that we find of private school choice programs like the one in Illinois around the country are that when parents do begin to participate in those programs, they do like them. The satisfaction level is very high, but they may not have known beforehand, right? And so I think your message is well said, right? That we need to let parents know that there are other options out there. And we have found that once parents discover the opportunities that their children can have somewhere else, they are very pleased with them. And so I think letting more parents know about what the potential is something that can help, I think, to move the needle. I would say one other thought that's important for parents to know is that, by and large, voters and taxpayers do not know how much we spend per child in schools. They dramatically underestimate that.
Yes. Well, how much are we spending, and what's the literacy rates and graduation rates?
How much are we spending? You got two boys in CPS. What you're making his point for him. It's $20,000 a kid in CPS. It's. I mean, not to step on your toes here, Jonathan Butcher, but I've only been following this and screeching about it for 25 years. I mean, this is more per high school graduate than New Trier. And you remember, high school graduation is like part of the point. More, 30 to 60% more than most of the suburban school districts in leafy, well-to-do suburbs. I mean, CPS spends an ungodly amount of money, particularly when you connect it to the results, and that's your point. But you're right. You're absolutely right, Jonathan. People have no idea. Oh, CPS is so poor. They probably spend like $5,000 a kid. We need to give them more money. If they really knew what I just said, comparing it to New Trier, then maybe there'd be a different opinion. I don't know.
That's right. And nationally representative surveys back that up, right? On average, people underestimate what we spend per child by about $4,000, just across the country on average. And I'm sure that in areas where they spend significantly more, Chicago, Washington, D.C., New York City, et cetera, the gap is there as well. The same goes for teacher pay. By and large, people underestimate what the pay and benefits packages are for teachers today. And I think the surveys, and this is clever, some of these surveys also give people the factual numbers, the right numbers, and then ask the question whether or not they support spending increases, and the percent that support increases drops when people are given the right figure and they know. So look, it's true. Knowledge is power, right? Once people understand what the facts are, it does change their opinion, right? It does help to persuade people that there's a better way, that there's a more responsible way to handle tax money and quality learning options for students.
Can you think of a recent example where a teacher's strike has resulted in the teachers taking it on the chin and actually getting less than less than they rejected, leading to their strike in the first place?
Well, I think in Oklahoma there was some discontent among the union and at the top level and among the actual striking teachers about what exactly the final deal wound up being. I think there was some discontent there among the teachers that walked out. I think in West Virginia, and this is just kind of based on general sentiment coming from op-ed pages and people on the ground there, I think voters began to realize, they began to demonstrate frustration with what the teachers were doing, and they began to see, right, that the union is really driving this. It's not just the average teacher in the classroom. This is being led by a special interest group. It's clear to everyone, especially at the legislature in Arizona, that all of the strikes and the effort there were being led by a special interest group that was out for more money. That was clear, from the beginning. And in fact, the offer that was made by Governor Ducey out in Arizona is very similar to what the union wound up achieving there. So they didn't get any more than what was offered before. So, there are cases here, right, where the union makes it look like they've won more than they actually have.
He is John Butcher. He's a senior policy analyst at the Heritage Foundation, senior fellow at the Goldwater Institute. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Policies issued by American General Life Insurance Company, Houston, Texas. Not available in all states. For details, visit AIGdirect.com.
Do you have a family? Would you like to help make sure they'll be taken care of if anything were to happen to you? If you answered yes, you probably need life insurance. Now, do you think life insurance is expensive? If you answered yes to that too, you definitely need to give AIG Direct a call. We could find you a $250,000 policy for just $14 a month, which means you could save hundreds of dollars a year. Call us now for a free, no-obligation quote. 1-800-400-5008. Since 1995, we've helped millions of people find out if they could save up to 70% on their term life insurance. See how affordably we can help you protect your family. Call AIG Direct now for your free quote. 1-800-400-5008. You could save up to 70%. That's 1-800-400-5008. 1-800-400-5008.
Segueing from our discussion about Chicago Public Schools, I've been telling listeners for years about the benefits of Northridge Prep. Now I'm thrilled to talk about their sister school, Willows Academy. It's an all-girls college preparatory school for girls grades 6 through 12. Willows Academy has been educating female leaders for 45 years. What do you want for your daughter during her crucial development years? A supportive environment, positive female role models, solid lasting friendships. Willows Academy provides all that, plus a challenging academic curriculum that's structured to help her succeed. I visited Willows last year, and I could tell you, that's a school that's got its act together. You see it from the adults, and you see it from the kids, and it's not that far from downtown Chicago. It's out in Des Plaines. There are options out there. Northridge Prep, Willows Academy. You should think about it. Willows is a place where young women can safely spread their wings and learn to soar. At an open house on Sunday, November 3rd. Find out why Willows is one of the top all-girls high schools in Illinois. Discover the Willows award-winning arts and athletics. Learn about their top-notch academics, which resulted in last year's graduating class being offered $6 million in college scholarships. To register for the Willows Academy November 3rd open house, visit their website, willowsacademy.org. That's willowsacademy.org.
Listen up, Chicago area. Are you interested in making active and passive income each month flipping real estate tax liens? Then listen to this. The ProSource Tax Lien Company is offering a free tax lien flip kit, which contains educational videos and a step-by-step report that will show you how to earn government-regulated returns up to 18% that are secured by real estate. Plus, see how you can access tax lien inventory not available to the public. So, if you want to become a real estate investor without swinging a hammer or being a landlord, then text Chicago to 31,000 now to get your free tax lien flip kit and get ready to learn how to flip tax liens and acquire houses well below wholesale prices with great profit potential, all from home working part-time. Text Chicago to 31,000 right now to get your free tax lien investor kit, plus 2 free tickets to a live training event, which includes a free smartwatch just for attending. Text Chicago to 31,000. That's Chicago to 31,000 for your free tax lien kit now. Individual results may vary.
Weather's changing. Fall is beginning this week, and it's getting darker earlier in the evening. How's your energy level? How are you sleeping? Well, we all know you're not getting enough fruits and veggies in your diet, and that's why you should take Balance of Nature. It will help. It also helps if you have joint pain and swelling. We need fruits and veggies in our diet to feel healthy. Pumpkin spice doesn't count as a vegetable, folks. So it's time to get healthy and do what I started doing, and that's take Balance of Nature. Just 6 capsules of Balance of Nature. Well, you're getting 10 servings of 31 fruits and veggies. You hear the stories right here on this radio station about how people's lives have been changed because of Balance of Nature. And the next story could be yours. Here's what you do. Go to balanceofnature.com, type Chicago in the discount code. You'll get 30% off your first preferred order, plus free shipping. Also, if you want, just know that this offer ends September 30th. So do not wait. Call 800-246-8751. That's 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
This is 60 seconds of... This is 60 seconds of sanity.
All right, you can drop the musical accompaniment. 60 seconds of sanity when we're having problems launching. Failure to launch. Isn't that a terrible Matthew McConaughey movie? All right, my 60 seconds of sanity. Now I'm having trouble launching. With her proclamation of an impeachment inquiry, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told the American people that the 2020 election will be about Democrats' past political failures and not their future quality of life. House Democrats will not move to protect private health insurance for 175 million Americans. House Democrats will not take up the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. House Democrats will not forge a compromise on border security that would provide permanent legal status to dreamers. House Democrats will not participate in a tax relief 2.0 discussion. House Democrats will not work to improve the quality of public education, public housing, or public infrastructure. They'll be too busy flashing their junior G-Man badges, demanding Trump's junior high school trapper keepers, issuing subpoenas compelling testimony from the maitre d's at Trump's favorite restaurants, and seeing if they can flip Barron on the old man. Pelosi and company have proven to be fanatical partisans in perpetual tantrum mode over losing the 2016 election. And ironically, by choosing to be so, they are guaranteeing a rerun of the election they lost.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, he was drunk and stupid and didn't hurt a fly.
But enough about Joe Biden. We'll pick up the conversation between Trump and Zelensky at 7:37.
But now let's go into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
55 degrees at 7:30. A tentative deal between GM and striking auto workers. Well, that could be struck soon. CNBC and Fox Business are reporting negotiations have intensified over the past couple of days. The whistleblower complaint against President Trump could be released later today. The complaint filed by an intelligence officer after that phone call between the president and Ukraine's president. Former Vice President Joe Biden says that newly released summary of that call appears, in Biden's opinion, to show the president committing an impeachable offense.
Based on the material that they acknowledged today, it seems to me it's awful hard to avoid the conclusion that it is an impeachable offense and a violation of constitutional responsibility.
Meantime, President Trump says the U.S. has struck a new agricultural deal with Japan.
I'm honored to be alongside my great friend, Prime Minister Abe, Japan, to formally announce our first stage of a phenomenal new trade agreement with our close ally.
The president also hinted that other deals with Japan are in the works. 5 are hospitalized following a crash on Chicago's South Side. A driver in a Ford Explorer slammed into a parked vehicle and then into a tree at 63rd and Washtenaw. The driver took off. The trial of two men charged with the murder of 9-year-old Tyshawn Lee in Chicago will continue. Lawyers for Dwight Doty and Corey Morgan unsuccessfully sought a mistrial yesterday. A Des Plaines man is facing possible prison time after being found guilty of a hate crime for harassing a woman wearing a Puerto Rican flag shirt last year in Chicago. And the Peterson Gymnastics Center on Chicago's northwest side is closed until further notice. Chicago Park District shut down that facility for a deep clean following recent cases of staph infections in the building. Cubs fell to the Pirates 4-2 in Pittsburgh. That's their 8th straight loss. They're bounced from the playoff chase after a Brewer win over the Reds. White Sox topped the Indians 8-3. The news service of Indeed.com, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring, where business owners post job openings with screener questions, then sort, review, and communicate with candidates from an online dashboard. Learn more at Indeed.com/hire. 7:33 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
With all the noise and political spin of the news cycle, it's easy for the things that really matter to get lost. Sources with knowledge cuts through all the clutter to bring you biting commentary on the week's events. This Sunday at 3 p.m., your hosts Eric Cohn and Joe Kaiser bring you insight on politics and policy, as well as culture, sports, food, and everything else you need, so you can understand what's happened this week. It's Sources with Knowledge this Sunday at 3 p.m. right here on AM 560. The Answer.
For more than 50 years, Mueller CPA, a certified public accounting and business advisory firm, has been serving clients in Chicagoland. Dave Nissen, Mueller's managing partner, is here to explain Mueller CPA's history, journey, and opportunity.
Thanks, Dan. Our firm was started by Al Mueller as a one-person CPA firm in 1968. Through growth and partnerships, Mueller CPA has blossomed from a regional firm to an organization that provides services worldwide. Mueller is a reflection of our years of listening and caring for our clients, and we would not be here today if it wasn't for our professionals and support personnel. We value the human side of our business and recognize it as being the most important element of our success. We are growing, we are hiring, and we welcome your interest in our firm.
If you are looking for your first opportunity or your forever career, join an award-winning team that cares about you. Visit the career page at MuellerCPA.com or call Dave directly at 630-524-5274.
Hi, this is Amy Jacobson, and just because summer is over doesn't mean it's too late to paint your home. Fall is a great time to check painting off your to-do list. By now, I think I've had my entire home painted by CertaPro painters. They really are the best. You know, CertaPro painters make painting this fall easy and quick. They have more availability, which means you can have your home professionally painted much faster. Cooler weather is arriving, so it is time to think about protecting your home from the elements once again. Have CertaPro painters paint the exterior of your home as well. And with kids going back to school and the family moving back indoors, get excited about cozy nights with a new look from CertaPro painters. Don't put it off. It's time to hire CertaPro painters, your residential and commercial painting experts. Schedule a free estimate online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C, or call 800-GO-CERTA. Each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated. CertaPro painters, we do painting, you do life.
7:35 in our AM 560 traffic center. Here's Jim Telemonte.
Inbound Kennedy, traffic's jammed. Canfield to the Burn Circle. It is an hour and 6 minutes. O'Hare to downtown, 30 minutes from Montrose, 33 in the Express. Outbound 41 minutes to the airport. Eden's 32 minutes Lake Cook Junction. Outbound 25. Eisenhower, hour and 9 minutes, 390 to downtown, 50 minutes from Mannheim. Outbound 47 to 390. Delays on northbound I-55 from Lockport Road past 126 after a crash. On the Stevenson's 58 minutes, 355 to drive. Ryan 35 minutes from 95th. Northbound Tri-State delays are 115th and Ridgeland to 47th and Roosevelt to Florence. Northbound Veterans Memorial from 127th most to way to Roosevelt. That's traffic. I'm Jim Telemonte. On AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer is next. And at 7:36, it's time for a dry basement in a healthy home. Time to call Permaseal, 800-421-SEAL. In our 1-hour heating and air conditioning weather center, let's check that forecast. Sunny, breezy, pleasant, 71 today. 55 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas, best beans, best roast, best coffee.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, you've got your being in a bonnet over this Forest Preserve hate crime story that we covered when it first occurred. Now the case has been adjudicated, and you're not so happy with the sentence.
Well, remember Timothy Tribus?
No.
He was the guy who was drunk and stupid, 63-year-old. He hangs out in the forest preserves a lot. And, that's what he does.
Yeah.
And one day, there was a woman there who rented out the cove, because, you have to fill out the paperwork, and she was wearing a Puerto Rican T-shirt and with a Puerto Rican flag on it.
Yeah,
You've seen those T-shirts before, and this is what happened.
Officer, can you I'm renting this area, and he's harassing me about the shirt that I'm wearing.
It was her 24th birthday party, and as this man approached the woman behind the cell phone camera, she started rolling.
You should not be wearing that in the United States of America.
Okay.
Are you a citizen?
Yes, I am a citizen.
Are you a United States citizen?
Can you please get away from me?
Then you should not be
Can
wearing
you please get away from me?
Wearing United States of
Officer,
America.
officer, I feel
Not
highly
Puerto Rico.
uncomfortable. Can
Are
you
you a
please
citizen?
grab him?
Well, anyone who knows anything, if you're Puerto Rico, you are a citizen of the United States of America. You have a U.S. passport.
That hasn't gotten around to the forest preserves.
No.
The dwellers of the forest preserves.
This
apparently.
video went viral. Millions of people saw it. The Forest Preserve police officer, because
You have
It's-
you have some
it's juicy.
Well, you have some toothless hillbilly living in a Cook County Forest Preserve.
Hey, he's from Des Plaines. Watch it.
Who behaves badly and speaks ignorantly, and we're supposed to stop everything we're doing and rally to the defense of this poor woman. She enlists a Cook County Forest Preserve police officer, and then that was it, right?
Well, here's the thing: the Forest Preserve police officer, as you can see in the viral video, is just standing there because he knows the guy. He knows he's drunk. Does absolutely nothing to de-escalate the situation. He could have said, like, "Hey, buddy, just leave her alone. She rented it out. Come on, go drink your beer somewhere else." But he didn't do anything at all. So he was going to get fired. So he resigned instead. So that was dope number one. Dope number two, obviously, the 63-year-old drunk man from Des Plaines. But he has since this happened, he was charged with a misdemeanor. And that wasn't good enough for our left-wing politicians. Oh, no. Jesus Chuy Garcia criticized the decision as being far too lax and he pressured, I think, the judge and officials to upgrade this to a felony hate crime.
Well,
the guy never even touched her. He didn't spit on her. He was just drunk. And he was like, I used to wear an American T-shirt.
Well, that's Kim Fox's decision. That's the Cook County
Right,
State's
but-
Attorney's Office decision to upgrade the
Right,
charges.
not the judges, but he did, pressure Kim Fox, and she did upgrade those charges to a felony hate crime. So yesterday, it took the jury 3.5 hours to deliberate this case, and they came back.
Did he represent himself pro se, Mr. Tribus?
No, he had an attorney,
And he was found mentally fit to stand trial. That would have been the first thing.
because he stopped drinking. His attorney said, "Hey, now you got to get your act together."
It was
He
just
said no other.
his only
incidents
problem
since
was drinking. It wasn't.
Well,
but he's living in the Forest Preserve.
Well, he's not living. He lives in Des Plaines near the Forest Preserve, but he likes to get his drink on in the Forest Preserve.
Sure.
Okay.
Of course.
So, and he started crying after they deliberated. They revoked his bond on the spot. He had to go straight to jail. He's in jail this morning and is going to be in jail until October 21st when his sentencing occurs.
What's the sentence recommendation?
It could be 5 years in prison. But
Well,
the fact that they
it could be.
revoked his bond, he's in jail right now until his sentencing.
Well,
October 21st. He could maybe get probation on that day, but the fact that they threw him in jail because he was drunk and said something inappropriate.
Well,
what is going on in this?
Is
world?
he's being held without bond because he's a flight risk? He may disappear into the Forest Preserve.
The judge decided to revoke his bond right then and there, and the deputies came and took him into custody.
So he could get up to as many as 5 years, but we don't know what the sentencing recommendation from the state's attorney's office
No,
is.
we don't know. But he returns October 21st, and I just cannot believe that they took him into custody because he didn't hurt her, he didn't touch her, and this is all political because the Puerto Rican politicians was like, this can't happen. This is a hate crime. We have to set a message now that people have to treat people better.
Yeah.
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. 64636 turnkey.pro answer line. Text line.
So what happened? I thought, I remember when, to steal from Chappelle, with that incident with that French actor who was accosted, Juicy Smollett.
Yeah.
Smollett, whatever I think is his pronunciation. I thought after that occurred, Kim Fox said that, with deferred prosecution there, just go hang out at Operation Push for a couple hours and it'll be fine. Because Kim Fox is focusing all of the Cook County State's Attorney's resources on violent criminals. I thought it was violent criminals that we were focused on. And then we find out how many violent criminals are being bonded out, how many violent criminals are being released on their own recognizance, how many violent criminals are getting slaps on the wrist so that they can go out and commit more crimes. We had a guy last week who shot a cop while he was after bonding out for shooting a woman.
Yeah, I mean, there's different rules for different people. Tribus didn't testify at the trial, but his alleged victim did. The woman wearing the Puerto Rican T-shirt did. She said that he scared her. Yeah, she admitted he didn't touch her, but he was asserting himself into my space.
Yeah,
I was very scared. And I understand that.
Well, that's fine.
It's a bonehead move that he did, but the fact, they're trying to say that the fact that he didn't touch her doesn't mean that he didn't commit a hate crime. Okay, really? And then my kids are Puerto Rican, and yes, I have family members that are Puerto Rican. And
have they ever been accosted by any toothless drunk hillbillies in forest preserves? Or is that not where they get their drink on?
No, but they even saw this, like, this guy's in jail. I said, yeah, he's going to be in jail at least until October 21st. And then I hope the judge has the time to process this. He has no priors. He's been a good citizen since this happened.
Well, he hasn't been
stopped drinking.
I wouldn't say he's been a great citizen.
Well, since this has happened.
Oh, he's turned his life around.
He's turned his life around.
Oh, it's the honor student defense.
Exactly.
This guy was almost an honor student. He was just about to turn his life around before he mowed down a bunch of people in a park.
I mean, this guy didn't do. He was drunk and stupid, and now he's in jail.
Well, I mean, we can go
because she caught it on video and because the politicians got involved.
I can give you a whole dissertation on hate crimes, but I don't even have the energy to do it, honestly. This is just the bottom line. Kim Fox is unserious about prosecuting violent criminals, and particularly of a particular profile, and she's very serious about using her office to virtue signal for political reasons. That's dangerous. She is a dangerous state's attorney. She really is.
Think? Yesterday they said during closing arguments, he was so close that she could feel his breath on her body. Look, it's time to tell this defendant, this community, that we're not going to tolerate this behavior.
Well, fine. The guy behaved badly, criminally. I mean, she probably did have reasonable fear for her safety. Okay. This is if he doesn't have a record, this is a offense for which you're going to imprison somebody, number one. Number two, the resources, I mean, plead this guy out. These are resources you want to devote when you've got shooting galleries on the west and south sides. And, oh, by the way, African-American men mainly being mowed down.
Tribus's defense attorney, you got to hear this. He said that in the video, it did not appear that she seemed frightened. But then he asked the jurors, well, what do drunks do? Huh? They invade your space.
Yeah, that's not a great defense. He obviously a public defender. Oof, brutal. Chuck in a car here on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, Dan, Amy, you better watch it because you could be charged with a hate crime calling that guy a toothless hillbilly.
Yeah, it's true. Thanks for the call, Chuck. I'll be in a cell right next to him. James in Westmont, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I disagree with you, Dan. Come on. He was one of the Jussie Smollett attackers, and Kim Fox figured it out.
Right.
I mean, he went from being a racist jerk to being, it went from being a racist jerk to being a hate crime. And I just think it should have stayed at a misdemeanor, and that's it.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of nature.
changing the world one life at a time.
One thing that is phenomenal, I had a very strong numbing sensation in my left shoulder, and it was getting worse and worse. And when you're getting older, things like that don't go away. They just don't. Well, guess what? It's gone. Totally gone. And I can only attribute it to fruits and veggies, because there's no way that something like that is going to just plain be Gone, gone. No way.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. To end the month of September, Balance of Nature is offering a 30% discount and free shipping on your first preferred order of Balance of Nature. This special is ending between now and September 30th, so don't wait. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Chicago.
Attention maintenance coordinators. Fans are a vital part of your business's building or factory. You've got to keep the air moving. But when they break down or need service, who can you call? Vans Industrial repair all types of fans, from small wall fans to large air movers.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. Fan repair is one of many services that Vans offers. If you have a fan with a damaged shaft, bearing, impeller, or housing, we can help. And if you need a new fan, we handle all major brands and can provide engineering assistance to properly size your new fan. Our crews can respond to your emergencies or routine maintenance and will have your fan back up and running fast. And when we're done repairing your fan, we can also dynamically balance it so it runs smooth for years to come.
Vans uses only the best and safest union-trained mechanics, insured at the highest level, to perform the job right. Call 833-VANS-IND to get your fan repaired today. That's 833-VANS-IND. Or on the web at vansindustrial.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy, and we're pleased to be joined by Indiana Senator, Republican Mike Braun. Senator Braun, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, good to be on.
So should President Trump be deciding what his last meal should be?
Well, I think do you think he thought about that right after he got elected back in 2016? I mean, it is something, especially in this last rendition of trying to impeach the president. And here, what surprised me mostly is that the report that this was all based upon, a hearsay whistleblower report, didn't even hit the pavement, and they already initiate the impeachment inquiry. It reminds me of how anxious they were when the new season for electing a president here in 2020 started, and they came out with all their craziness about the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, free college tuition, get rid of the Electoral College. They don't understand that every time that happens, there's probably only 15 to 20% in the middle that are going to decide this election. How do you think they're going to calculate when they have to make a decision to vote? I think due to the fact that from day one, they could not get over the fact that an outsider entrepreneur actually got in to be president, kind of the same thing I did when I ran the gauntlet and became senator. You don't get over it. And I think when they play their card so in advance of whatever the material is they're talking about, it looks foolish. And this one fell with a thud more than anything they've done before. And I think it's going to just really grill into the minds of voters that are still making up their minds. Why are they doing this? The fact that they've tried to do it from the get-go. And is it, divert attention away from a platform that looks like that could do them in on its own? So to me, it's a litany that keeps repeating itself. I hope voters are smart enough to see through it.
Well, Senator, this morning the whistleblower report has been declassified. Actually, was last night. Have you had a chance to read it yet?
I have not, because I read the transcript and all of that yesterday, and I'm anxious to do so. And I'm guessing it's going to be somewhat of a version of what we saw yesterday. Of course, I'll look at it on its merits, but to me, I think the foundation of it, an anonymous hearsay whistleblower report what court would that stand up in anywhere?
It's going to be ripped from the pages of the New York Times op-ed section. I mean, it's just incredible. But I want to go back to the transcript. Your colleague Mitt Romney said he found the contents of the transcript of the phone call deeply troubling. What was your reaction to it?
Well, I think, we know where Mitt has been from day one on any Trump issue. And I think Ben Sass might have stepped forward with a comment yesterday. 2 out of 53. Of course, I don't really think that most Republicans here view this as anything other than a repeat of what's been occurring, since the day President Trump got elected. And I think the whole fact that the House, the Mueller report ended up as a disaster for them. They thought that was going to be the final blow. And I think we're going to see this kind of thing occur right into November of 2020. And I do believe voters will be smart enough to see that that's not what it's going to take to win an election. And I think they're playing into Trump's hands in a way to where it's going to make what's going to be a tight election tip it over to his side.
Former advisor to Romney and to George W., Mike Murphy was on MSNBC. Now, I can see that he's.
I saw that clip, by the way.
Yeah, I can see that he's a dope. All right, so I can see that up front.
Get that out of the way.
But he suggested. Forget his analysis. What he suggested, he said that one Republican senator told him that if the vote to convict and remove him from office took place in the Senate, if it could be anonymous, 30 Republican senators would vote to convict and remove him from office. Do you think that's true?
I would wonder how long that establishment senator has been here, number one, and no, that is not true. Any Republican here, even if they didn't maybe like the fact that President Trump made it through the gauntlet in the Republican primary, ended up winning it, based upon what has occurred from the Jobs and Tax Cut Act, from almost the rollback of regulations, the fact that we had a crazy rule called WOTUS, and I'm a conservationist involved in farming. That kind of stuff got into such overdrive during the Obama administration's 8 years. You don't hear anything about it, and all Republicans here know that. They may kind of think in that direction because he's a disruptor. He's rocking the boat, but on the merits, they know differently.
And the reaction from some of your colleagues in the House, a letter signed by Mike McCall, the ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, 18 other members, Republican members of that committee. He concludes, the transcript released yesterday shows unequivocally there was no quid pro quo. He also goes on to say the Democrat manufactured crisis has consumed Congress, and no one is more pleased about than Vlad Putin. Intentional or not, Democrats are literally following the Russian president's playbook.
Well, when they do this, they're not doing anything on their legislative calendar in the House. We had a chance to actually do some things with health care. One of the main, I reformed it in my own business 11 years ago, making it consumer driven, getting employees with skin in the game. Great things can happen if you tackle problems and stay focused on it. And when you had 80 senators, weigh in with their idea how to fix an industry, we've got 3 bills out there through 3 separate committees. That's what Hoosiers are interested in. That's what Americans are interested in, not this constant litany of trying to relitigate the 2016 election. So not only playing into Putin's hands, it's painting an ugly picture for most people in the middle out there that will decide this election, that this is just more of what disappointed them before Trump got here. So I believe this plays in Trump's favor politically, but you're right, we'll get nothing done in the meantime because it occupies the energy, eats up all the oxygen in the room.
He is Republican Indiana Senator Mike Braun. Senator Braun, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good to be on. Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
famous conservative quotes, presented by Automated Systems.
Here's a Winston Churchill quote that rings truer than ever. There is nothing government can give you that it hasn't taken from you in the first place. That pretty much sums up the case for smaller government.
Manufacturing companies, I encourage you to call my friend Laz Kulchar from Automated Systems. Automated Systems is a software and systems integration company that specializes in companies that are required to meet FDA compliance requirements. Automated Systems will create a custom solution for your business that will make your production lines, facilities, and plants run more efficiently. Imagine less downtime, more speed, and fewer rejects. From Fortune 500 to startup, ASI delivers solutions for your toughest automation challenges. For information, I encourage you to talk to Laz at Automated Systems. Call 844-HIRE-ASI or visit hireasi.com. That's 844-HIRE-ASI, 844-HIRE-ASI, or online at hireasi.com.
Hey, hackers are just relentless, you know that, and it's only a matter of time before they get to your business network. Attacks come from all over the world. Yes, places like Russia, the Ukraine, China. How can you keep your business protected? Well, with locally owned Turnkey IT. Turnkey IT has been a proud partner of AM 560 for years. They understand the needs of small to medium-sized businesses, whether it's 5 or 200 employees. Don't become another company that has had its network, or worse, its clients' information compromised. Your business is too important to take risks. Let Turnkey IT make sure you have no vulnerabilities. Find out if your network is protected with a free security audit. That's normally a $600 value. So that's great. It's free. So you can let the pros at Turnkey IT thoroughly analyze your systems to ensure your business is not vulnerable to attacks, intrusions, and hackers. They'll even recommend a complete strategy that offers protection for your company's data and network. Leave the technical stuff to the pros so you can focus on what's important. Visit turnkey.pro today. That's turnkey.pro.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The whistleblower complaint has been released to the public. We'll tackle that at 8:08 and talk to Julia Song about just exactly what it's like to live in a socialist country. Her experience in Brazil that could inform our election in 2020.
And nosy reporters have done it again. We'll explain. But first, let's get into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
2 deadly shootings a block apart on Chicago's South Side. 5 hurt in a stolen SUV crash. Joliet overdoses, possibly linked to fentanyl-laced cocaine. Cubs eliminated from the playoff chase. White Sox top the Indians, and the Blackhawks fall to the Capitals. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
This is a Fox News alert. Joseph McGuire is about to testify. I'm Dave Anthony. The acting director of national intelligence will be questioned about the Trump-Ukraine phone call and the whistleblower complaints.
Remember, this whistleblower had no firsthand knowledge, wasn't a part of the call. My guess is the first time he saw the call was yesterday when we all read the transcript.
Republican Congressman Jim Jordan, Fox's Jared Halpern's live at the Capitol.
Well, that complaint is now made official. The 9-page document, the whistleblower writes, I have received information from multiple U.S. government officials that the President of the United States is using the power of his office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 election. The account details that July phone call between President Trump and Ukraine's president and a request by President Trump to investigate corruption against former Vice President Joe Biden. That complaint also says senior White House officials locked down records of the call's transcript. It also details other interactions between White House staff and President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, and Ukrainian officials. Dave.
And Jared, the president calls this a joke, a hoax. Fox's John Decker live at the White House.
Fox News has learned that in the weeks leading up to the president's July call with Ukrainian President Zelensky, Ambassador Kurt Volker, in his capacity as the U.S. Special Representative to Ukraine, lobbied EU countries to increase their financial aid commitment to Ukraine. That would back up the president's assertion that the reason he delayed the nearly $400 million foreign aid payment to Ukraine was that he was frustrated about European countries not spending enough on foreign aid for Ukraine. Some leading congressional Democrats have alleged the president withheld that aid until Ukraine began an investigation into former Vice President Biden and his son Hunter. Dave?
John, we just got the final update on economic growth for the second quarter, confirming GDP increased just 2%, down from 3.1 in the first 3 months of this year. America's listening to Fox News.
Sunshine and 56 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Trial of two men charged with the murder of 9-year-old Tyshawn Lee in Chicago will continue. Lawyers for Dwight Doty and Corey Morgan unsuccessfully sought a mistrial yesterday. A former suburban high school teacher is charged with sexually abusing a 14-year-old boy last year. Dana Chidester appeared in a Chicago federal courtroom yesterday after being accused of having sex with the teen at her home, in her car, and at suburban hotels between September and December of 2018. Chidester previously worked as a teacher at Reed Custer High School in Braidwood. Authorities are investigating a series of overdoses this week in Joliet. It could be linked to cocaine laced with fentanyl. 6 overdoses, according to police, have been reported in that southwest suburb. Congressmen and senators from Illinois are urging a review of health policies after a mumps outbreak at a northern Illinois county jail. Health officials confirmed 6 mumps cases earlier this month at the McHenry County Jail, which contracts space to the U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Agency. Cubs fell to the Pirates 4-2 in Pittsburgh. Northsiders bounced from the playoff chase after a Brewers win over the Reds. White Sox beat the Indians 8-3. 8:03 time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Visit signaturebank.bank for your commercial banking needs. From the Fox Business Network, here's Ginny Casola.
From the Fox Business Network, McDonald's will test a plant-based burger from Beyond Meat. The launch is today in Canada at 28 restaurants in Ontario. The patties from Beyond Meat will be called the PLT for plant lettuce and tomato. It'll be trying out the no-meat burgers for 12 weeks. It'll cost the equivalent of about $5. Rite Aid is reporting a mixed quarter, though its revenue, the money it takes in, was weaker than expected. Its overall quarter was better than forecast. Rite Aid is still losing money, but its loss was smaller than a year ago. ConAgra, the food company known for Duncan Hines, Vlasic, Pickles, and Hunt's, also reported a mixed quarter, but says its business will live up to expectations this year. Stocks closed higher yesterday. Investors shrugged off the investigation into President Trump. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Ginny Cosola.
8:04 in Chicago. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Tickets for Freedom Summit 2019 sold out in record time in response to the high demand. We've opened up an overflow room for attendees to watch the event on Saturday, November 2nd at the Westin Chicago Northwest. Overflow tickets are on sale now, but are selling fast. Get yours at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Clear Financial Strategies, Tom Mirabali, independent health insurance agent with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, Monarch Technical, and by Charles Equipment Energy Systems.
Hi, this is Amy Jacobson, and just because summer is over doesn't mean it's too late to paint your home. Fall is a great time to check painting off your to-do list. By now, I think I've had my entire home painted by CertaPro painters. They really are the best. You know, CertaPro painters make painting this fall easy and quick. They have more availability, which means you can have your home professionally painted much faster. Cooler weather is arriving, so it is time to think about protecting your home from the elements once again. Have CertaPro painters paint the exterior of your home as well. And with kids going back to school and the family moving back indoors, get excited about cozy nights with a new look from CertaPro painters. Don't put it off. It's time to hire CertaPro painters, your residential and commercial painting experts. Schedule a free estimate online at CertaPro.com. That's Certa with a C. Or call 800-GO-CERTA. Each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated. CertaPro painters, we do painting, you do life.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money. Easy to learn, easy to use, small business software tailored just for you. With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
When it comes to keeping your small business's valuable information safe, Dell Small Business Technology Advisors can recommend tailored security solutions like servers, storage, networking. Plus, right now, get up to 45% off select business computers with Intel Core processors. Running your own small business is a big challenge, but with the right partner, it's a lot easier. To speak with an advisor today, call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
.807 AM 560 Traffic Center time, and here is Jim Telemonte.
Inbound Kennedy, traffic is jammed. Canfield to the Burn Circle. It is an hour and 6 minutes. O'Hare to downtown. 30 minutes from Montrose. 33 on the Express. Eden's 24 minutes. Lake Cook to Montrose. The Eisenhower, an hour and 23 minutes from 390 to downtown. An hour and 2 minutes from Manheim. Stevenson, an hour and 16 minutes. 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Ryan, 38 minutes from 95th. I-57, 34 minutes. I-80 to the Merge Bishop Ford 50. Northbound Tri-State delays are 115th and Ridgeland to 47th. Roosevelt to Lawrence and Gulf to Willow. Eastbound Reagan tollway delays are 25 to Yackley and 83 to the Tri-State. Northbound Veterans Memorial, 127th to Roosevelt. Army Trail to 290. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning Weather Center, our meteorologist Steve Williams.
Today, mostly sunny, breezy, and pleasant. The high today at 71. It'll be partly cloudy tonight, low 58. Clouds tomorrow, breezy, occasional rain and a thunderstorm for the afternoon. The high tomorrow at 72. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
57 at O'Hare. Next news, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Make sure to check out the Income Store live video stream of today's show right now at 560theanswer.com.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So the whistleblower's complaint has been released. Just read this 9-page complaint. Unfortunately for the complainant, so much has transpired since he sent this letter to Richard Burr, the chairman of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, and Adam Schiff, the chairman of the House Intel Committee, on August 12th, that it makes most of this moot. We're already discussing it.
The wind is out of the sail. President Trump released the transcripts of the phone call, the actual phone call yesterday, which really makes this a whole bunch of a nothing burger.
So I've received information, writes the whistleblower, I've received information from multiple U.S. government officials that the president is using the power of his office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 U.S. election. And it basically all revolves around the phone call and includes news reports, so that's not exactly inside information. Makes an additional allegation of U.S. officials seeking to, quote-unquote, lock down the records of the July 25th phone call between Trump and Zelensky, including the word-for-word transcript. He took that to as underscoring that White House officials understood the gravity of what had transpired in the call. That's what he says. And then he just talks about ongoing concerns, Rudy Giuliani's involvement, meetings with Zelensky and various Ukrainian figures, including as well as the U.S. Special Representative for Ukraine negotiations, Kurt Volker, who was mentioned specifically by Giuliani as somebody that he's been reporting to.
But on the first, he says, I was not a direct witness to most of the events described. However,
right.
I found my colleagues' accounts of these events to be credible.
So this is what I said when we were talking to Senator Mike Braun. I mean, that's sort of what this reads as now, especially now because all this information is being made publicly available, and you've heard from so many of the principals. You've heard Giuliani. You've heard too much from Giuliani as far as I'm concerned. You heard from Trump. You heard from Ukrainian President Zelensky yesterday with Trump.
I think you read everything. So I think you read text. I'm sorry, but I don't want to be involved to democratic, open elections of USA. No, you heard that we had, I think, good phone call. It was normal. We spoke about many things, and so I think, and you read it, that nobody pushed me. Yes.
In other words, no pressure.
Nobody pushed me.
And if anything, look what the Democrats did to the president. And that's what President Trump mentioned yesterday.
If you take a look at the Democrats, they went down to see the president of Ukraine, and they asked him for all sorts of things, and don't go with the Republicans and stay with us, and like it's a political war. They shouldn't have done that. That should be an impeachable event, I guess, based on what you're saying. The Democrats just came out. They went down there, a group of people, some of whom I was dealing with on the gun issue, and they went down, put tremendous pressure on Ukraine. The president himself just came out with a statement.
Yeah, so you understand.
And so I think more and more Americans are in Ukrainian President Zelensky's camp, which is they don't want to be involved in the U.S. election either.
I know, that's what he's like. Check, please.
But there is a choice to be made, lest we forget, and it's bigger than just Trump versus Biden. It's what we've talked about before on this show. It's, I would say, it's cultural Marxism versus founding principles versus America's promise. And in terms of an economic system, it's capitalism and free markets versus socialism. So I thought our next guest would be an ideal person to talk about this a little bit. Somebody, again, who's lived through the ravages of socialism. And it was interesting to note when President Trump specifically called out the Maduro regime in Venezuela during his speech at the UN General Assembly. The Venezuelan delegate was reading a book about Simón Bolivar as some sort of protest move. Yeah, Simón Bolivar, the great liberator. What's Maduro? But President Trump continues to relentlessly, with moral clarity, call out socialism and the thugs who subjugate their people under the auspices of creating heaven on earth. And frankly, the inability of the left in this country to speak with moral clarity about the Maduro regime, and obviously with the likes of Bolshevik Bernie to openly and notoriously promote socialism, it's dangerous stuff. And perhaps we don't take it as seriously as we should, at least some of us. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by Julia Song. She is a conservative political activist and commentator, and she wrote a very compelling piece at evmagazine.com, EVIE magazine.com, How Socialism Failed Me as a Woman and Ruined My Country. Julia, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben and Amy, for having me.
So tell us what happened to you and your family in Brazil when the political winds changed.
So when you have a society that's mainly ruled by socialist ideals, what they do is that they move away from the small business type of thriving environment. The small business begins that whole environment begins to be very regulated. The employment laws are incredibly insane. You see that happening in the U.S., where they're trying to raise minimum wage to they're always trying to raise it. I think the last that I heard was 15, but it might even be higher than that because the life is so expensive to live, especially in the cities that they settle in. They have their political settlements in. It's so expensive to live that they keep trying to raise the minimum wage. That puts pressure on the businesses. Then they tax the businesses. Then they overregulate the businesses, and it's really hard for small businesses to thrive. So the government becomes the biggest employer, and if you're against the government, then you don't have a government job. And so it becomes very hard in that sense. They put their people in. They put the people that they want employed in, and the rest of the population has to figure out how to get by.
When you're against the government, when you're not part of the ruling party, so we're talking in the context of the 2020 election, the idea of weaponizing the state to inflict punishment on political opponents. What happened to Trump, arguably, in 2016, and prior to under the previous administration, and what, of course, the left is alleging President Trump was attempting to do with the Ukrainian president. But that's why I want to go to your experience, though, too. What happened to your family? Your mom was a professional, an attorney. What happened to your family, you and your family in Brazil, when the party to which she was affiliated fell from power?
So what happened was that she kind of knew what to expect. We just didn't know the fact that once you vote them into power, it's almost impossible to vote them out. So the situation lasted for way longer than it should have. It lasted for 6.
Julia? Did we lose Julia?
Oh, Julia, are you there? Hello? Julia, are you okay? Are you okay?
Got a zone. Here, we'll take a break and we'll try and pick up Julia.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When a company is ready to grow, it's important to have the right partner to support that growth. Choose a team backed by 100-plus years of combined experience in the staffing industry and the most trusted staffing service supplier. Choose Unistaff. Unistaff's flexible staffing solutions can help your business fill temporary, temp-to-perm, or direct hire employment and make the hiring process cost-effective and efficient. For temporary placement to handle specialty products requiring specific skill sets, workflow fluctuations, or to save on hire costs, Unistaff has the talent ready to take on the challenge. They can also connect you with their talented associates to provide temporary positions with the potential of full-time placement. And for direct hire, you know finding the right employee can be an unexpected, time-consuming task. Leading corporations partner with Unistaff to gain access to top candidates in a wide spectrum of industries specific to their needs. Focus on growing your business. Call Unistaff to handle the rest. Go to unistaffjobs.com. That's unistaffjobs.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, Dan and Amy, we got Julia Song back. She's a conservative political activist and commentator. Julia, you're with us?
Hi.
Hey, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there, but I just want to pick up, maybe reset and pick up your story about what happened to your mom and your family when the Conservative Party in Brazil fell out of power, the implications of that politically for you and your family.
Absolutely. So my mother, she was a well-known, in our state at least, conservative attorney. The economy got worse as time went by. She was not able to get a government job at all, and there were no other employers in the market. Inflation was getting out of control. Violence was out of control. Education was getting terrible. Any kind of healthcare that we had, any kind of everything that the government provided did not have any quality that you could hold on to. So in reality, there was nothing actually free, and the lifestyle became more expensive as time went by. So food, lodging, housing, all of those things were extremely expensive, yet the market did not have enough employers and enough stability to allow people to live to those standards. So high levels of poverty, we went into homelessness. And the thing is that this lasted for so many years, and everybody we started asking each other, are you still voting for this government? Are you still voting? And people were like, no, we didn't vote, but somehow they kept getting elected. And so that's when we started looking into the government a little bit deeper to try to find the corruption in it. We did find it. We did have the socialist president impeached. We had her removed from office. And that is another valuable experience that I have, because I remember you were talking about it earlier. And we did have two presidents that went through the impeachment process here in the U.S., but we actually never had them removed from office. And when you have a president removed from office, the chaos that brings into our economic systems is just too much. We have China really close to catching up to us, and cannot allow ourselves to fall into the kind of recession that will happen to this country if we actually remove the president out of office, especially since he's doing so good when it comes to the economy and some of these other aspects.
Yeah, and it was amazing that you said that, too, because after the transcripts of the phone call was released, the Dow actually went up yesterday. Did you notice that?
Absolutely. I think that is very anti-American when you talk about removing a president out of office, when in reality, doing that will make so many Americans lose their jobs and the economy will go down. So I think that will be terrible for the American people. Why are we trying to do that with, again, like you mentioned, a nothing burger?
I also think people underestimate sometimes how bad things can get, and your experiences you recount in that piece I referenced. I mean, you went from your mom being the successful professional and attorney to being homeless.
Absolutely. My mother has 2 degrees. She had a business administration and a law degree. She was very experienced. She shouldn't have gone through that, but that goes to show you that if somebody who's doing great today, if somebody who has, their feet standing in the ground, they're good economically, if they're going from being well financially to becoming homeless, what could happen to the majority of the people? I mean, a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. A lot of people don't have a lot of savings. So what will happen to those people in a state of socialism? People think, oh, it's not going to happen to me. Well, what happened to somebody who was way better off than most of the population? So you can imagine how people who didn't have savings, who didn't have all of that structure, how life was for them.
And, of course, we've seen the same thing playing out in horrific ways in Venezuela in real time. How did you, just on a personal note, how did you ultimately make your way to America then from Brazil?
The decision to come to America was job-related, but that was after I had already finished with my whole political scene movements, after I was already established and things were looking up. Then I came to America for my studies and my work. But, I just want to piggyback on what I was saying earlier, because I did remember an example. I was staying at somebody's house because we were homeless, so our family had to be split up. And I did stay at somebody's house. This person was a professor. I guess I shouldn't say a professor, a teacher. And she was known to make opposition to the government, the local government. She was known to make opposition to the mayor. And because she made opposition to the mayor before, the mayor was withholding her salary. So she didn't have any money. She couldn't buy food. She couldn't do anything. So then that's when I had to move from her place to another place, because she was basically in a state of misery because the mayor was actually withholding her salary.
Well, we're glad you found success and made your way to our country. Julia Song, conservative political activist and commentator. I'll tweet out that column I was referencing. Julia, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
If you're talking about it, Dan and Amy are talking about it. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you have pain, listen up. Dennis Prager here. You don't need to live in pain. Let me repeat that. You don't have to live in pain. Chronic pain is the worst, whether it's from an accident or pain that just develops. So, Chicagoland, you're in luck. Dr. Ken Candido is one of the nation's most respected and successful pain doctors. He's been voted one of Chicago's best pain doctors several times. Bottom line, he's the pain doctor you need. Dr. Candido of Chicago Anesthesia and Pain Specialists will help you get off pain medication and all of its side effects. How? By finding the source of your chronic pain and fixing it.
This is Ken Candido of Chicago Anesthesia Pain Specialists. Let's make you pain-free.
Call Dr. Ken Candido and make an appointment with a cutting-edge, respected, and successful pain physician. Go to mypainchicago.com. That's mypainchicago.com. Thousands have been helped with their chronic pain, and you can be the next one. Get the phone number and all the info you need at mypainchicago.com.
Balance of nature, changing the world one life at a time.
Scientific research has shown that many cancers and lifestyle diseases can be prevented with a diet rich in fruits and vegetables. This prevention comes from the phytochemicals in the plants. They fight against oxidants that damage the cell's DNA, causing mutations that lead to disease. In my lab, I've seen the immune response increase, I've seen your DNA repair capacity increase, and I've seen DNA protection. As a scientist, I know that balance of nature works.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. To end the month of September, Balance of Nature is offering a 30% discount and free shipping on your first preferred order of Balance of Nature. This special is ending between now and September 30th, so don't wait. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code CHICAGO.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Rick Blackwell, second-generation owner and CEO of Marketing Innovators and a customer of Signature Bank. Our family-run company was founded on the belief that connecting to people on a human level is the best way to build a great business. And when we were looking for a new bank, we didn't have to look far. We shared an office building with Signature Bank in Rosemont and quickly saw that they were truly locally owned and operated. That's why we partnered with Signature. And that relationship makes every business decision better and every communication clearer. Marketing Innovators looks forward to a long-lasting relationship with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The
Answer. This is right from the pages of a Naked Gun script. California police officer must call off chase after Tesla's patrol car battery runs low. Hey, slow down. Slow down.
I don't have enough juice. I don't have juice.
Fremont, California, they're in the midst of a pilot program using the 2014 Tesla Model S85 vehicles as they're pushed to cut greenhouse gas emissions. You know, you want your police department to go green.
Save the planet.
Uh-huh. The Tesla, the officer calling back to dispatch, just slowed down to 6 miles of battery on the Tesla, so I may lose it here in a second. If someone's got a fully charged battery, maybe they can intercede.
Oh, my gosh. Those cars are expensive. Holy cow. And they're not even performing properly.
Yeah, got to make
They want the future to have, or police cars to be Teslas?
Yeah, you got to make sure
Give me the
that,
old-fashioned
or you got to have a
Chevrolet or the
redundant
Ford.
system like switchgrass or something that you can feed into the engine. So
Bring back the Crown Vics. Remember those?
yeah, I remember those.
One of them that was the fleet of Chicago
Yeah.
police.
All right, so there's California too, hoist by their own environmental wackoism yet again in another spectacular way. Their inability to police the streets.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll return to our discussion of that New York Times op-ed masquerading as a whistleblower complaint and discuss that with Michael Goodwin from the New York Post at 8:38.
And now let's get into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
56 degrees and sunshine, and Joseph McGuire, the Director of National Intelligence, has just settled into his seat on Capitol Hill. After opening statements, he is right now giving his own opening statement into a House Intelligence Committee hearing, and membership there ready to question him, led by California Democrat Adam Schiff, who opened remarks by saying President Trump has betrayed his oath of office. Meantime, lawmakers are sure to press McGuire about the delayed submission of that Inspector General report. The president yesterday saying nothing was inappropriately done.
You take a look at that call. It was perfect. I didn't do it. There was no quid pro quo. But there was with Biden, and there was with these senators.
The complaint that Trump was leveraging military aid to have Ukraine investigating former Vice President Joe Biden and his son for corruption appears to be weakening. A tentative agreement between the UAW and General Motors reportedly drawing near. CNBC and Fox Business are both reporting negotiations between the two sides are intensifying. Over the last 2 days, Both sides have been meeting. Some 48,000 union employees have been on strike since September 16. The nation's economy grew at an annual rate of about 2% in the second quarter. Final GDP for April through June down from the first quarter's 3.1% growth. Chicago sports, Cubs fell to the Pirates 4-2. That's 8 losses in a row, and the Northsiders are bounced from the playoff chase after a Brewers win over the Reds. White Sox beat the Indians 8-3. The news, a service of Indeed.com, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring, where business owners and HR professionals can post job openings with screener questions, then sort, review, and communicate with candidates from an online dashboard. Learn more at Indeed.com/hire. 8:32 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher says the president just keeps delivering.
One would think minorities of all kinds would be loving the jobs numbers. I mean, this so-called racist president just keeps delivering economic gains for black Americans, for Asians, for women. A whopping 6.3 million jobs have been created during the Trump administration. Now, does that count for anything?
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Want your home's furnace to stay safe and reliable? And want to prevent any potential problems before they happen? At your local 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning, we recommend an annual furnace inspection and tune-up. Right now, get big savings on a furnace tune-up. Call 855-1-HOUR. Because not taking care of your furnace, that's just cold.
Your comfort is just a call away. Call 1 Hour.
Terms and conditions may apply. Call for details. Independently owned and operated. Licensed in the respective state or county.
No matter how long it's been, when you're back together, you still get that good old-fashioned feeling. Even though you've been apart, it's as though you've never left. That's right. Football season is back.
Reignite your spark right here on the Husky Sports Network.
Your NIU Huskies battle the Vanderbilt Commodores this Saturday morning at 11 on your home for the Huskies. AM 560, The Answer.
Townstone Financial is synonymous with great rates, low closing costs, and phenomenal service to the thousands who have completed purchases and refinances with us since 2002. Hi, my name is Barry Sterner, owner of Townstone Financial. Let's hear from Jim, who just completed a no-cost refinance with Townstone Financial.
We went through the experience with Townstone. The experience was amazing. We had a point person that took control of the refi. The communication was specific and exactly what we needed to do. That I was never in the dark in the process. So I knew when I needed to get documents. I knew exactly what I needed. I would recommend Townstone to anybody, and I do.
Remember, nobody values your business more than Townstone Financial, and I'm always available to answer your questions. Call me now at 312-896-2110. That's 312-896-2110, or go to townstone.com. That's TOWNSTONE.com.
Townstone Financial is licensed in Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida. NMLS 136639. www.nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Equal housing lender.
8:35 AM 560 traffic center time. Here's Jim Telemonte.
Eastbound Adams Tollway I-90 traffic is stop and go from 31 to Higgins and Hoffman Estate. The eastbound Reagan Tollway is jammed. 25 to Yackley. Northbound Veterans Memorial from 127th to Roosevelt. The Army Trail toll to 290. Southbound it's jammed. Army Trail to 22nd. The Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown is an hour and 13 minutes. A little quicker than the Express. Eisenhower, an hour and 21 minutes, 390 to downtown, an hour from Manheim. Stevenson, an hour and 20 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. The Ryan, 40 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 29 minutes, I-80 to the Merge, Bishop Ford, 50. Heavy traffic on eastbound I-80 at LaGrange Road to 183rd. It's traffic. I'm Jim Calamonte. On AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next in our 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning Weather Center. Sunny, breezy. Oh, what a pleasant day. 71 today, partly cloudy and 58 overnight. Tomorrow, the rain and thunderstorms come, 72, and Saturday, cloudy, maybe a shower, high 64. 57 right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Money Hour Radio Show, Saturday afternoons at 3 on AM 560, The Answer. Brought to you by Pearshell Financial Group.
see Michelle Malkin, Sean Hannity, and Laura Logan at Freedom Summit 2019. Tickets on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. And a lot of focus yesterday on Republicans who are not always the greatest Trump defenders. Will they break bad and provide a real path to removing this president from office? And so, of course, the pronouncement of Mitt Romney on the telephone transcript was seized upon.
I did read the transcript. It remains troubling in the extreme. It's deeply troubling.
What do you do beyond be troubled with it, though?
Well, there's a process that the House is pursuing. The Senate is also looking at the testimony of the whistleblower, so there's an evaluation of gathering more facts.
Let me ask you just directly, do you believe it's now appropriate for the House to begin this inquiry of impeachment?
That's not advice I'm going to be providing to the House or to the Speaker. She is able to do what she feels is right. That's up to her. But at this stage, the process is to continue gathering information. But clearly, what we've seen from the transcript itself is deeply troubling.
Deeply troubling. What is being underreported is some of the consternation Joe and Hunter Biden are inflicting upon Democrats.
Well, reporters are starting to ask a lot of uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren was apparently just asked on the trail, would you allow your son to serve on the board of a foreign company? And she said no. And then she said, well, wait a second. She's realizing what she said.
Yeah.
Well, wait, let me think about that. I don't know what the right answer is. I have to think about that because I don't know how to triangulate this without being perceived as trying to cut Biden's legs out from underneath him and then make the story about Joe and Hunter rather than having the story be about Trump impeachment and removal from office. So I'll have to get back to you.
And they asked Kamala Harris what she thought about Vice President, helping out his son in foreign land. And she said, the voters will have to decide.
Yeah.
And then she quickly ran off stage.
Yeah.
It was so uncomfortable. You could feel the tension, thousands of miles away.
Yeah, that's a real stout defense of Biden there from Kamala. You have, however, had pushback. Mike McCall, the ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, along with 18 of his colleagues, signed a letter published in the Wall Street Journal, basically pushing back on this, noting, as did others yesterday, that why even talk about the transcript? Why even talk about the particulars of the whistleblower complaint? This is like the 42nd reason that Democrats have come up with to call for the impeachment and removal of office of President Trump. And on this latest matter, they didn't wait for the transcript or the whistleblower complaint to be made public. So how serious should we really treat their pronouncements? Nonetheless, this is the cloak and dagger intrigue that will dominate our politics for at least the next, a couple weeks. And frankly, with Nancy Pelosi's pronouncement earlier this week, it seems like that's the frame of the 2020 election. And that's in part what Michael Goodwin had to say on the pages of the New York Post. We're pleased to have Michael Goodwin back, New York Post columnist and Fox News contributor. Thanks for being with us again, Michael. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you.
So Nancy Pelosi, whether being forced or not, she's essentially thrown down the gauntlet and she's not going to be able to pick it back up. This is what's going to inform 2020 and what the Democrats' value proposition is going to be for the American public, yeah?
Well, I see no way out of this for her now, having made this choice. She commits the party to it, and it's interesting, you're seeing the numbers of Democrats who favor this course soar in the last 48 hours. Until now, it's clearly more than it's almost all of them, 235. The last count I saw was 213 Democrats support an impeachment inquiry, essentially over this phone call. I mean, I think that's what's amazing, that Pelosi did this on the basis, she did it on Tuesday, on the basis of media reports as to what the whistleblower was alleging. And once you see the transcript, it's not nearly as advertised. Recall that there were, I think the Wall Street Journal said there were 8 times Trump raised the question of Biden. Well, there weren't. That he had threatened to withhold foreign aid, American foreign aid from Ukraine, if he didn't get what he wanted on Biden. Well, that's not there either. So there were no threats about withholding foreign aid. There was no quid pro quo. So what really, in my column, I suggest if Pelosi had held her fire for 24 hours, she might have said, this is not the issue. This is not the thing we can hang impeachment on. We're going to have to find something better. But for reasons almost impossible to explain, she jumped on Tuesday, and now she and the country are stuck with it.
Yeah, you wrote in your article, that they could win the battle but lose the war. I love that. And now this unclassified whistleblower document has come out. I'm sure have you had a chance to read it yet? And what are your thoughts?
Well, I have not, but I must say that my understanding of it is that it's based entirely on this one phone call. Now, I don't know if that's correct, but that's what I read. So in that sense, we already know more than the whistleblower. We have the transcript of the phone call.
Yeah.
The whistleblower did not, apparently, the second or third hand, and had a political bias. I mean, gee, where have we heard that before?
Yeah, no, I mean, it reads, with one exception, suggestions from White House officials that this whistleblower allegedly knows spoke with, that there was unusual steps taken to cordon off the transcript from the July 25th call because officials clearly knew the gravity of what President Trump had done. But that's, of course, just his opinion and interpretation of something he suggests, but we don't know, happened. But otherwise, it just reads like a 9-page New York Times op-ed.
Yeah. It strikes me, too, something else, guys, and that is we're looking at this transcript of this call as though, oh, my God, look what he said and did. And, it occurred to me, we have nothing to compare it to. Have you ever before seen a transcript of a presidential call with a foreign leader? No. I haven't.
Wow.
It's very rare. And Trump took this extraordinary step, in order to provide the transparency. He thinks he did nothing wrong, and that's why he released it. And it was interesting. Last night, some people on Twitter saying, okay, let's see a transcript of Obama's calls with Iran about the nuclear deal. Let's see what Biden said on the phone to Ukraine. Let's do that for everybody now. Let's throw it all out there. Let's see what Bill Clinton was saying. Let's see what George Bush was saying to the leaders of Iraq. I mean, just think of the can of worms we could open here.
Well, go ahead.
We would have a better frame to compare the nature of these kinds of calls.
I also don't like so many people are starting from the premises of the left. The idea that even if there was an implicit quid pro quo that was being pushed, I'm sorry, and so what? Where is quid pro quo illegal found in federal statutory law or constitutional law? I mean, this is the matter, of course, of politics. The Pollyannish nature of some of the reactions to the idea that you're applying pressure to a foreign country to get what you want out of it, in addition to this idea that because Joe Biden is a presidential candidate, that everything he does is off limits for investigation. I'm sorry, is that the standard? Because I remember a presidential candidate that was under FBI investigation not so long ago. He's the president of the United States now. So I'm a little confused as to hear what the standards are and what the laws or the protocols or the norms are that are supposed to be so wildly broken here.
Well, and who's setting those standards, right? Who's making these rules that Donald Trump violates every time he opens his mouth? I mean, that's someone said the other day, and it struck me as something I hadn't thought of. So the moment of the hot mic between Barack Obama and Medvedev, where he says, tell Vladimir, I'll have more flexibility after the election. This is in 2012, before the election. And someone said, well, isn't he implicitly asking Putin for a favor? Isn't he asking Putin to give him time until the election is over and then he can make a deal? Isn't that asking for help from a foreign leader, Putin nonetheless? So I just think that if we're going to, as you say, Dan, use these standards, let's make it one standard across the board. But of course, that's not what the media is about. And we expect this from the Democrats. This is what the opposition party, I think it's extreme, but this is what opposition parties generally do. But what we don't expect is for the referee to be crooked. We don't expect the people calling balls and strikes to be wearing secretly the uniform of one team. And this is what we're faced with in this country. So much of the information that the public is being fed is poisoned by bias. And it's not always clear, I think, to the consumers that you are being fed a crock because the person feeding it to you has an agenda, wants you to believe what they believe, and so they're giving you their side of the story. And I think that is what we must always come back to and remember. What is the other side of the story? You're not getting it from most of the mainstream media.
So do you think there's any chance that Pelosi will change her mind? I mean, are they going to have a formal House vote on this?
Well, your second point, I think, Amy, is the real test here, because what she did was avoid the vote at this point, so that people don't have to go on the record saying they favor an official inquiry. It is apparently not required, but there are certain powers that come with that. As Doug Collins, one of the House Republicans, was saying, it sets its own rules in terms of subpoena power, in terms of the minority party's ability to do things, so that by not taking that vote, she protects the members who are in these swing districts, and she acts as though she's just kind of thrown it out there. But look, I think the die is cast. I think the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her ilk are now more important in the Democratic Party, that Nancy Pelosi surrendered to them by doing this. Now, look, that's the difficulty of being a legislative leader. You have professional politicians with their own constituents who you're trying to herd them together, and sometimes they just won't be herded. And so Pelosi is now a follower of AOC and the squad and all of those the impeachment caucus. And so I think everything in the Democratic Party is going to be about impeachment. Anybody who wants to run a primary against a member of the Democratic Party, the way to do it is to run on the left, is to say, I'm for impeachment, and the person in that job now is soft on impeachment, I'm harder on impeachment. The presidential candidates are all going to have to be for it. This is the consequence that Pelosi has created with her surrender.
And it's interesting, too, because she's not completely in control of this process. And most specifically, you have John Durham, the U.S. attorney selected by AG Barr to do a look back at 2016. And part of that look back in 2016 includes a look back at what was going on in Ukraine in 2016. And John Solomon and others have reported in great detail that a lot of what was going on in Ukraine in 2016 was about Democrat collusion with the Ukrainian government that had nothing to do with Joe Biden, but it certainly doesn't cast the Democrats in a positive light either. So this could have the effect of boomeranging on them, just as, to a large extent, the Mueller investigation did.
We hope so, because, I mean, those of us who believe that we should have a single standard here would like to see these things opened up. Biden, of course, look, I think the Biden thing smells to high heaven.
Yeah.
And I believe it will be the knockout punch of his candidacy at some point. But I think it's even bigger than that, because did the press not know about his son's? Think of this.
The other way.
His son flew to China with him on Air Force Two and signed a deal getting a $1.5 billion investment from a Chinese government entity, effectively, for his investment fund. And this is okay? I don't think so. And so I think for Joe Biden didn't know. Gee, son, why are you coming to China with me?
Well,
they
right.
got
I
off
think
the
it was
plane
out
together.
sightseeing or something.
Well, right, and this is the cynical covering for Biden that's been done in the D.C. press corps this week, most notably by Chuck Todd, where he keeps saying he's exonerated. It was investigated. There was no wrongdoing found.
You don't know what your kids are doing financially. I mean,
Wrongdoing.
Right.
Forget wrongdoing. This is a per se conflict of interest that he knew was a conflict of interest. Should have known. Hunter knew. Should have known. Hunter's not even involved in this based on his lack of experience in the energy sector. If his last name's not Biden. And all he had to do to avoid all of this ugliness is recuse himself. But he chose not to do that. And so forget any assertions of criminal wrongdoing. It's a conflict of interest. It was unethical conduct by the Vice President of the United States. And the D.C. press corps just wants to paper over that.
Right. Again, it's one standard for Democrats and a different standard for Republicans, and really a third standard for Trump, because he is the consummate evil who must be destroyed at any cost. And, just as we're talking about Biden being a casualty of this jihad against Trump, I think the FBI has become a casualty for the same reasons, because the way Jim Comey corrupted it with Andrew McCabe and Strzok and Page, et cetera. I think the New York Times has become a casualty of the hate Trump mentality, because it has lost all credibility among those who are looking for fairness. So I think this desire to destroy Donald Trump has corrupted major institutions in America that we need to count on. We need a trustworthy FBI. We need a trustworthy media. We don't have either right now. And I think this is a great tragedy of our age, and there will be consequences for years and years, if not decades, because once we lose trust in these big premier institutions, A, there's no substitute in the short term, and B, it's very hard for society to function if there's no trust. If there aren't things we can rally around, if there aren't institutions that we can look at and say, yes, they are speaking for the common good, they are speaking with even hand and good intentions, where are those institutions now? I mean, they have been destroyed from within, and they have not been replaced. I think this is the great crisis of our age.
Well, right, and don't you think that is a fait accompli, at least for the 2020 cycle? Because whoever wins, if Trump wins, it's going to be he colluded with the Russians, he colluded with the Ukrainians, lawlessness, anarchy, dictatorship. And if whatever socialist they nominate wins, it's going to be conservatives, Republicans, Trump supporters saying big media and big tech conspired with whoever their nominee is to subvert the will of the people.
Sure. Look, remember when Hillary Clinton said in 2016 that it was appalling, I think it was in the third presidential debate, when Trump said he wouldn't necessarily agree to not contest the results of the election.
Right.
Clinton was appalled by this. The New York Times, everybody, oh my God, we've never had that. Americans always trust the outcome. Well, here we are. Who has contested the outcome of 2016? Only the left. And so do we think that if Donald Trump loses in 2020, he will not contest? Do we think those 60 or 65 or 70 million Trump supporters will quietly accept his defeat? If that's what happens, and if it's decreed by, CBS News and the New York Times and NBC, come on. This is now fair game. Everything, all the rules are being thrown overboard to get the outcome you want. That's what the left has decided they are going to do. And so Joe Biden cheats in Ukraine. Joe Biden's son makes a windfall out of his father's position. We're not going to worry about that. Donald Trump is our worry. So I think that's where we are in this country, and I think we all share the feeling, the conviction that this is not good. This is not healthy. We are in troubled times, and there's no sunlight ahead just yet.
He is Michael Goodwin, New York Post columnist and Fox News contributor. Michael, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you both.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch. and it feels so good. You switch to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature. Changing the world, one life at a time.
Scientific research has shown that many cancers and lifestyle diseases can be prevented with a diet rich in fruits and vegetables. This prevention comes from the phytochemicals in the plants. They fight against oxidants that damage the cell's DNA, causing mutations that lead to disease. In my lab, I've seen the immune response increase, I've seen your DNA repair capacity increase, and I've seen DNA protection. As a scientist, I know that balance of nature works.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. To end the month of September, Balance of Nature is offering a 30% discount and free shipping on your first preferred order of Balance of Nature. This special is ending between now and September 30th, so don't wait. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code CHICAGO.
I've been telling listeners for years about the benefits of Northridge Prep. Now I'm thrilled to talk about their sister school, Willows Academy, an all-girls college preparatory school for girls grades 6 through 12. Willows Academy has been educating female leaders for 45 years. What do you want for your daughter during her crucial development years? A supportive environment, positive female role models, solid, lasting friendships. Willows Academy provides all that, plus a challenging academic curriculum that's structured to help her succeed. Willows is a place where young women can safely spread their wings and learn to soar. At an open house on Sunday, November 3rd, find out why Willows is one of the top all-girl high schools in Illinois. Discover the Willows award-winning arts and athletics. Learn about their top-notch academics, which resulted in last year's graduating class being offered $6 million in college scholarships. To register for the Willows Academy November 3rd open house, visit their website, willowsacademy.org. That's willowsacademy.org.
Hi, it's Mark Olson.
And Greg Olson.
The boys from Crumweedy Home Pros.
Call Crumweedy! Yep, that's us.
Listen, we know it was a horrible winter,
followed by a horrible spring.
You may have held off thinking about getting your project done with the crazy weather we've had, but we want you to know we prepared for that.
Our pros are ready to work overtime if needed to get your project done before the next horrible winter.
No, not another rough winter. This past one was bad enough.
Call us today, and we'll get it done right, and we'll get it done now.
Call Crumweedy!
Whoa, guys, don't forget, we offer 12 months, same as cash. Now, go ahead, carry on.
Roofs, gutters, windows, and siding.
You know you can trust Crumweedy to do a great job and give you a fair price.
630-595-8020.
And watch out for the door-to-door fly-by-night guys. Here today, gone forever. You deserve better.
Call us now for special offers on roofs, windows, siding, and gutters.
Call Crumweedy!